Good morning. It's 5 a.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got rain, 57 degrees on Music Row. We'll have a full forecast and your traffic in just a few moments. Dive teams are in the water in Baltimore, where the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed this morning after a cargo ship crashed into it. Emergency responders were searching for 7 people that are still believed to be in the river. ABC's Sam Sweeney has the latest.
There are some reports that there may have been early warning that this large cargo ship was going to hit the bridge, and they may have stopped some of the traffic from entering the bridge. We are working to get all of those details, but they are calling this a dire mass casualty event. Multiple agencies are working this, and they have divers in the water.
Officials say that they still believe multiple vehicles are in the water as the major emergency response is underway. WBAL Radio's Ken Duffy, he's there on the scene.
This happened in the middle of the night at 1:30 in the morning. This thing hit the bridge, and they're trying to figure out how many other people could be in there. I mean, it's very hard to see out there. It's pitch black from what I can see in the distance. So it's got to be a really difficult task right now for them to get an assessment of how many people could be in there.
Of course, this is still very much a developing story, and we'll keep you posted as best we can. Russian TV showing the capture of one of the ISIS terrorists who allegedly staged a horrific attack on a concert hall over the weekend, slaughtering 139 people and injuring nearly 200 more. All 4 accused gunmen were dragged into court yesterday, bruised and bloodied. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack. With more, here's ABC's Martha Raddatz.
The U.S. warned Russia just 2 weeks ago of an imminent risk from ISIS-K, specifically at a concert venue. Vladimir Putin saying the attack was committed by radical Islamists, but not specifically ISIS, pointing the finger instead at Ukraine without evidence. The Ukrainians deny any involvement.
Israel canceling a meeting in Washington set for this week after President Biden urged Benjamin Netanyahu not to move forward with an assault in Rafah and following a resolution at the United Nations.
Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu canceling plans to send a delegation to Washington for high-level talks over Israel's planned invasion of Rafah. The surprise move coming shortly after the U.S. paved the way for the UN Security Council to pass a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza.
The Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. You can find them online at beaconcm.com. Numbers before the opening bell: the Dow up 88, S&P 500 futures up 19, NASDAQ up 89. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends, along with Mason Fleming, Jay Harper in for Ken Weaver as well. And Johnny B, by the way, returns tomorrow. I got to ask you, Jay, have you seen the video of this bridge collapse in Maryland? I have tweeted out the video. There's a couple of different angles that are out there.
Yes, Dan, I have, and it's surreal. I mean, it looks like a movie.
It is surreal.
Just, wow.
Now, when you look at it, one of the things that I noticed, I've watched about a 2-minute video of it. And so you've got these folks, and if you're just joining us at 5:06 in the morning, there's been a major bridge collapse in Baltimore. It's the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and it was hit by a container ship. And the container ship basically crashed into, this big support pillar, and the bridge, and it's a major bridge. I mean, this is a bridge that millions and millions of people cross. And this bridge just, it folds like a house of cards. It just comes down. When you watch the minute and a half before the bridge collapse, you see semi-trucks and you see cars going across, and it does make you wonder if they were able to make it all the way across. Now, I'm seeing, Jay, and again, if you have not seen it, it is horrifying and surreal. I have tweeted it out at Dan Mandis Show, but anywhere on the internet right now, you can see this bridge collapse. It was some sort of a live stream that they have there for the port of Baltimore, or whatever it is. So apparently now there were crews that were working on the bridge. There might be at least one semi that was on the bridge at the time of the collapse, some cars as well. Now, I'm not sure what figure you're seeing from ABC News, Jay. I'm seeing, and this is the headline from Daily Mail, and this is a developing situation. Here's the headline that I have. Rescuers scramble to save dozens, including 20, from a construction crew working on Baltimore's colossal Key Bridge after it collapsed in moments when container ship crashed into it, flinging cars and a semi-truck into, they say, the freezing river. So, and I don't know anything about water rescue, but when they're looking for people in the water, they're going to have to deal with all the debris, Jay, with the bridge as well.
Absolutely. You've got all of the steel, and not to mention just the fact that it's pitch black. It's dark. You know, of course, the sun will be coming up there in the Eastern time zone here, probably, within the hour. Yeah. But nonetheless, what a nightmare. Can you only imagine being, traveling over that thing and it starts to move? You don't know what's going on. Just the sheer terror of that.
Yeah, and when you look at it, apparently what happened, and again, developing situation, this ship, it's one of those big container ships, and it was registered, they say, out of Singapore, and it was on its way to India. And so a big plume of smoke came out of the ship, the container ship, a little bit before it hit the bridge. So what they're thinking is that, okay, well, maybe it lost power, maybe something happened down in whatever, the engine room, but it basically steered right into that column. And so I don't know if it had lost power or what. Some people on social media, they're wondering maybe if this was some sort of a terror attack. I doubt it. I doubt it.
Doesn't really show signs of that at the moment, according to all reports. But they are surmising that there was some sort of engine trouble where the ship lost power and started to drift, and collapsed and hit the bridge and it collapsed. Yeah,
it's a long bridge too. They say the bridge is a 9,000-foot structure crashing into the river. And so this is going to be a very dangerous rescue operation. And I don't mean to sound like all hope is lost for the people that are in the water. I just, this happened, about 12:30 our time, 1:30 Maryland time.
Yes.
And so they've already been in the water for about 4 or 5 hours. There seems to be some disagreement over the water temperature and how cold it was. Was it freezing? Was it 50? Was it 60 degrees? I don't know. All I know is that 4 or 5 hours in a vehicle in the water, that's a precarious situation, to say the least. And it's also a precarious situation for the people, as we're talking about, Jay, trying to rescue these folks. So we don't know what happened. There's a lot of, guesstimation going on right now. There's a massive effort to rescue the people that are in the water. And again, this Francis Scott Key Bridge collapses in Maryland after getting hit by this container ship registered out of Singapore. They say that it was on its way to India. And this is going to be one of those mornings where just, the information is just going to be coming in all morning long. And so we will keep you updated on all the very latest between myself and Jay. And if you have not seen this video, it is, as you said, Jay, it is surreal. It is horrifying. And especially knowing that there were people on that bridge as it collapsed. One of the things, and I heard the Red Eye guys talking about this, and I've seen some references to this on Twitter, is they think that they may have been able to stop the traffic in the moments before that ship hit the bridge. Now, again, there's a lot of guesstimation going on right now, and there's a lot of surmising as to what may have happened. But that's one of the things that they're saying. If you watch the video, and I don't know how closely, Jay, you watched it, but if you watch the video closely, and especially the 2 minutes before the ship hit the bridge, you do see traffic driving across the bridge. But then it seems to me like as the ship was approaching the bridge, the traffic seemed to stop. Now, I don't know how busy this particular bridge is at, 12:30, 1:30 in the morning Eastern time, but it did seem like the traffic did seem to stop just as that bridge was approaching. I don't know if that was because of the normal flow of traffic, but we'll, again, keep you updated with all the latest as it continues to come in. And again, this happened at about 1:30 there in Maryland time.
I mean, can you imagine, Dan, if it had been 5 hours later, when rush hour traffic, probably at a dead stop on that thing?
Yeah,
and,
they talk about millions of people come over this bridge every single year. And I don't know where this bridge, and maybe if there's a super texter that knows the area. I looked at the map of Baltimore, and I was trying to figure out exactly, because it's a long waterway. So I don't know exactly where the bridge collapsed or how many people are on this bridge during the morning or afternoon commute, if this is along the typical commute line. But I'm sure there's a super texter out there that knows, 615-737-9986. But, Jay, that is a great point, where if it had been just a few hours later, how even more tragic this could have been. And I think it also shows you, and this is for another time, but, this bridge, it was like, boom. The support beam was hit, and it, immediately came down. And so I don't know if that is an indication. This is an older bridge that opened back in the 1980s, and I don't know if more modern bridges have a different structure. They build them differently. They build them with a little bit more safety around the bridges so that in case something happens. I heard the Red Eye guys talking about how, some of the more modern bridges have sort of barriers around those support beams so that they are protected against this kind of a thing. I don't know. All I know is that it's a breaking news story right now. It is going to continue to develop, and we'll continue to keep you updated here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There is a lot of other stories that are out there working this morning. I don't know if you folks have heard about what's going on with P. Diddy, but, the famous hip-hop artist and, record producer and everything else. It looks like he is now, there is a raid on his homes in Los Angeles and also in Miami, and he's accused of all kinds of nefarious things. And so now apparently P. Diddy got into his private jet, and he is He has fled the United States. At least that's what I'm seeing on social media. So we've got that story for you. We've got some very big Donald Trump news, some polling as well. A very busy morning here on Nashville's Morning News. Super text line is open at 615-737-9986. The Members Nutrition Super text line. Always appreciate hearing from you. Mason, I'm assuming that Super Talk TV is up and running, and you can find that on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and also at 997WTN.com at 5:16. Time to check the very wet roadways from the WTN Traffic Center. All right, thank you very much. 5:17 now at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Wet weather continuing across most of the mid-state this morning. The good news is we gradually dry things out this afternoon. Highs in the 60s, breezy. That wind last night was insanity. Breezy today, chilly tonight, 40s in the 30s for the overnight day tomorrow in the 60s, and the afternoon, plenty of sun as well. You ever, Jay, I'm wondering, and Mason, maybe we'll talk about this a little bit more during the Gang of Three Amigos. So I'm driving along this morning, 40 westbound, trying to get in, man. And Jay, you and I were talking about it before the program. I am white-knuckling it in.
Yes, it was, it was not a fun commute.
It was not a fun commute at all. And as I'm driving in, I'm white-knuckling on the in the slow lane. This semi, and I know you people have heard people talk about this on the radio for years. This semi goes barreling past me, got all this water spraying onto my car, which is fine, whatever. But this dude was speeding. I mean, this was like an 18-wheeler. I mean, it was a really, really large truck. And it had to be going at least 80 miles an hour. I'm not kidding, folks. And so I'm driving, and I just drove through a puddle. And so my car does a little shake.
Little
right?
shimmy,
Whatever.
right?
Little shimmy. That's exactly right. And this truck just goes barreling by me on my left. And he's, I guess, in probably, the middle lane, whatever it would be. But it was the lane next to mine. And on the back of the truck was the name of the business that this truck belonged to. And I thought long and hard about whether or not, I'm just going to tell you, I did not get the name of the business. I believe it's a business. I saw the word Lebanon. So it was a semi, and the business was a business out of Lebanon. And I thought long and hard about whether or not I wanted to call out the business because their truck clearly was driving way too fast. And if I was able to get the name of that business, would I use my bully pulpit here on the mighty 100,000 watt FM blowtorch WTN to call out this particular business?
Why not, Dan? You could ultimately save lives. Absolutely.
Well, I didn't get the name of the business.
Yeah. Well, it does sound like it was local, though. It wasn't
it was absolutely local. And if you are a truck driver and you are going 40 westbound, and this was right around Old Hickory, Hermitage, heading, west toward the airport, and you drive an 18-wheeler and the name of your business is on the back of the truck and you're out of Lebanon, you need to slow down.
Yeah, I mean,
and by the way, all trucks need to slow down, and everybody needs to slow down when the weather is this insane.
Yeah, I encountered the same thing coming from Murfreesboro on I-24. The truck's flying through there, just like you say. And to compound it all, you got these potholes that are the size of, small lakes.
Yes.
That don't help in terms of trying to control yourself, where those shimmies become like, oh, my God, I'm losing control. Because you hit those things and they're full of water.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You got all the puddling on in the right lanes, which is what made me shimmy. Yeah, the ponding, puddling, sure.
Yeah,
that's
I know, man.
Right.
I hit around Haywood Lane, Harding, and then to compound that, it was raining, so you could hardly see, in front of your in front of your vehicle. Yeah,
Yep.
not a fun commute. Usually, when we come in 3 or 4 in the morning, there's like 8 vehicles on the road. Not a big deal. But today, even even though the traffic was sparse, the traffic that was there was not very safe.
Yeah, especially the speeding semis. But hey, people are going to say, oh, Mandis, you're just a wuss. No, I'm not a wuss. I am all about safety, and I'm trying to save lives. So I'm just telling you people to slow down.
Yeah, and the mist from the trucks. I mean, we all deal with that where you just can't see a darn thing. Man.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Yeah, especially when it's dark.
All right, it's 5:21, and Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and Jay Harper. There it is. Jay Harper, let's get the news tease out of the way. Go.
Yes, sir. Well, we will continue to update folks on what we know regarding that bridge collapse there in Baltimore. And more on the situation in Russia with that terror attack. We'll have the latest on that as well coming up at the bottom of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you, Jay. 522 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There's just a lot of news this morning. We're going to get right to it. By the way, coming up during the Gang of Three Amigos at 5:35, we will talk a little bit about what is going on with P. Diddy. I know there's going to be people that are going to be saying, who cares about P. Diddy? This is one of the biggest musicians in, hip hop today. And he also, by the way, is a Trump hater. Have you heard what P. Diddy said about Donald Trump way back when? So I'm going to just infuse a little bit of politics into this whole thing as well. And he also, by the way, gave to Hillary Clinton. I'm just saying, 522 on Super Talk 99.7. I can't say enough about the Glock store and their amazing Shoot 270 indoor ranges. And yes, their incredible showroom as well. Now, this is where I buy all my guns, all my ammo, and it is where I train as well. Now, you walk into the Glock store, and it is massive, but that's not even close to what you're going to find at glockstore.com. You browse, you buy, and then you can pick up your purchase at the store. So you order at glockstore.com, and yes, you can pick it up right there at the Glock store. And remember, if you're upgrading your gun with a pyramid trigger, night sights, or other performance parts, which is what I did, they will install them for free while you wait. The more you know about the Glock store, the more you realize it is actually your Glock superstore. For all things two-way, there's only one place to go, the Glock store. That's McGill's Glock store, just minutes from the airport and at glockstore.com. As close as your phone, tablet, or desktop computer, glockstore.com. All right, thank you very much. All right, 529 on WTN. Let's head to this press conference. This is Chief James Wallace, Baltimore officials, a news conference on the Key Bridge collapse. Jay, go ahead and bring it up. And we're waiting for Jay to bring it up. All right, so we are trying to bring it up. Apparently, we cannot bring it up. There we go.
This continues to be a search and rescue operation. It continues to be a very dynamic operation with multiple local, state, and federal resources involved. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our Mayor Brandon Scott.
Thank you, Chief. Everyone, this is a unthinkable tragedy. We have to first and foremost pray for all of those who are impacted, those families. Pray for our first responders and thank them. All of them working together, city, state, local, to make sure that we are working through this tragedy. This is an ongoing, active research that we're having right now. We're going to continue, as you heard from Chief Wallace, throughout. As long as we have to be doing that, we will do it. But we have to be thinking about the families and people impacted, folks who we have to try to find and save. This is what our focus should be on right now. We're going to continue to work in partnership with every part of government to do everything that we can to get us through the other side of this tragedy. And with that, I'll turn it over to County Executive Olszewski.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. I think we all awoke this morning to an unspeakable tragedy. As the mayor indicated, we know that there will be families and individuals impacted by this, regardless of what happens the rest of the way out. So I would just echo the mayor in lifting up prayers for those who are impacted, but also ask that our residents pray for our first responders. They have been on scene since very early in the morning, not only conducting initial search and rescue operations, but planning for additional ones as the sun comes up. And the work that they do cannot be understated. And I want to just thank them for all that they are doing and will do in the hours and days ahead. We know that we have a long road ahead, not just in the search and rescue, but in the fallout following this. I think we appropriately have our attention on the search and rescue efforts currently, and just here alongside our partners in the city to say that they have our full support, just as we want to thank our state partners for the resources they've offered up, as well as the federal partners who have already reached out. The mayor and I have talked to the governor. We've heard from the Secretary of Transportation. So collectively, we thank everyone for their thoughts, their well wishes. But again, this is a very active situation, and we want to just thank the chief and our teams for all the great work they're doing. And with that, I'll turn things back over to the chief.
Thank you, County Executive Olszewski. We'll do some Q&A right now. Now we're just going to go around, have everyone present their question for this. Chief, can you tell us where the crew of the ship is? You also mentioned, too, that 2 people were rescued. Who made the first 911 call? And there were reports that it was a crew on the deck of the ship working at that point. Can you confirm any of that information?
The latest information we have on the crew of the ship is that they are still on board the ship. There's been comms between the ship crew and the Coast Guard. So as part of the overall operation, we communicate through the Coast Guard with the ship. And I'm sorry, your other questions?
There were 2 people taken. Who made the first 911 call?
I don't know who made that call yet.
Okay, and then were there other workers on the deck of the ship or the deck of the bridge at this point? We had heard that information. Can you confirm that?
We were being told there were workers on the bridge. We have yet to confirm that. We'll work with MDTA to obviously to get that information.
About how many cars were on that ship? Last question. On the deck of the bridge at the time it collapsed. Do you know that?
Don't have a number. I can tell you our sonar has detected the presence of vehicles submerged in the water. I don't have a count of that yet.
Thank you.
Chief, you mentioned upwards of 7 individuals that you're looking for. We've heard reports of as many as 20 individuals. Can you just paint a more clear picture about how many people actually fell into the water, how many people you might be looking to rescue, and also if you can give an idea of how many vehicles, although you might not have the answer, but really just the circumstances?
Yeah, I'll start with the last one. So I don't know how many vehicles yet. I know that we have detected the presence of vehicles. As far as the number between the 7 and 20, that's been a dynamic count throughout the morning, just given the fact that we haven't yet nailed that number down. We do believe that at least 7 are involved in that, at least 7 at this point.
That fell into the water.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and I know you said the crew was accounted for the Coast Guard on deck. Do we know if any of the crew members were part of these at least 7 people that may have been in the water?
We do not.
Can I just ask, survivability in waters around this temperature is not very long. Can you shift focus to become more of a salvage operation?
So we'll be guided by our dive teams. We will determine what the temperature of the water is. The other issue that we have out there is this water is current influenced. So right now we think the tide is coming back in. That adds a bit of a challenge to us also. We can certainly dive in these conditions, but we have to take a lot of factors into play, right? The fact that there may be trauma involved, they have been in the water an extended period of time, but also remember we're battling darkness. So, it's quite possible that we may have somebody there that we've not seen yet, and as they work closer to the debris field, they'll obviously make those determinations. But we're going to rely on the experts, which are our dive masters that are here, our dive team, to tell us when they believe we've reached that non-survivability point.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chief Wallace, was there any indication that there was a problem with the ship? Was it led in by tugboats at any midday? Like anything that so far early on point you to something went wrong?
We do not have that information with regard to the investigation. I would refer that to law enforcement. My focus since 1:40 this morning has been that rescue operation.
So far there's been no indication that any kind of like an emergency dispatch came from that ship before?
I have no information about that, ma'am.
Have you been able to talk to the pilot, the American pilot on that bridge?
The pilot on the vessel?
Yeah.
We have not talked to the pilot on the vessel. The rescue personnel, the rescue operation, we have not interacted.
Just back over here.
Can you tell us about
I don't have age and I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't have age and gender on either. One patient refused service, right? Really, they weren't injured. The second patient, however, was seriously injured and is at an area trauma center.
Are you including them in the at least 7 people?
We don't know yet if they're part of that 7. Okay. The patient is injured severely enough that we've not been able to debrief that patient.
That 7 number, that comes from people witnessing cars going down. Where did that number come from? Or is that just from the sonar hits you got?
No, that was the initial information that we got as we were arriving on the scene, that number. And that number, again, as I said earlier, has fluctuated, right? But that 7 has been a consistent number.
How many agencies are here assisting right now?
Oh, wow.
Dozens.
Yeah, dozens. I mean, locally, fire department-wise, Baltimore County's here, Howard County's here, Hartford was here, PG was here, Anne Arundel, of course, Baltimore City. And a lot of those agencies are here by virtue of the fact that they may have specialized equipment that we need during an incident like this. So we're bringing in the equipment specific to the operation right now. And then even law enforcement agencies have a lot of the same marine ops equipment as we do. So given the incident is so big, we try to force multiply and just bring as many resources in as we can so that we can really blanket a large area for a search.
What about the fuel spill? What kind of resources are you bringing in to mitigate that?
We've not been able to confirm that we actually have an active fuel spill from the vessel. We've had odors of diesel fuel. The Maryland Department of the Environment is here, as well as the Coast Guard. So they would take leads on that as well. We hope as the sun comes up a little bit with the air assets that are up to get a much better picture, if we do have a fuel spill, what the impact has been so far. Yeah, Maryland State Police has been here. Foxtrot is also working this. There are 2 air resources right now. I don't know that we won't bring any more in, but right now they're the 2 primary. Air reconnaissance on something on the open water is it's an invaluable resource. And we've been very fortunate to have it because as we put people out in the dark on the water to conduct searches, they have that degree of overwatch from those assets. So it's been an invaluable resource for us.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Executive, we're talking about search and rescue. I know that, and that's where the focus is right now. I was awakened with this news. We're all awakened with this news. I've seen the video. What do you make of the totality of this incident? What are you thinking about what you've seen and what this community has experienced?
Well, this is a tragedy that you can never imagine, right? And I was awake when Chief Wallace called me, but never would you think that you would physically see the Key Bridge tumble down like that. It looked like something out of an action movie. And you just think about, most importantly, and which is what we all should be thinking about right now, nothing but those families and people that are impacted and those people who are risking their lives right now from not just Baltimore City and Baltimore County, but all over this state to try to save lives. That should be our focus, the preservation of life, because no one wants to see that happen, let alone someone in their family or someone that they know be injured in an incident like this.
We'll take 2 more questions.
Your thoughts about what this community is experiencing this morning.
Look, I think that folks are stunned. I think folks are reeling. And I think that's particularly true for people who are worried about their loved ones right now. I think there'll be plenty of time to talk about what this bridge means to the community, what it means for commerce. But at the end of the day, right now, this is about the humanity of people who are impacted and the men and women who are out there trying to save lives and recover folks off the bridge. So I think there'll be plenty of opportunity to talk about that. But really, right now and for the foreseeable hours ahead, this is really about focusing on the search and rescue efforts. And I want to just again.
All right. So that is live from Baltimore. You heard the mayor of Baltimore, emergency personnel as well. And Jay Harper, here's what I heard, and maybe you got some other intel. They've rescued a couple of people. There's still somewhere between 7 and 20 cars in the water. The crew of this ship, of this container or cargo ship, they're still on the boat. It's registered out of Singapore. The ship, again, was on its way to India. That's at least what the initial reports were. They also said that the rescue, they're utilizing sonar and dive teams, but the rescue is very treacherous for a number of different reasons. Number one, you do have all of that steel and all of that debris. That's number one. Number two is that the water is and they utilize the term current influenced. So there's strong current as well. So you have that you're dealing with as well. And they don't really know. There's just a lot we don't know. What we do know is that the ship hit the bridge, hit the main support column, and it immediately came down. The Francis Scott Key Bridge, again, it is massive, one of the largest bridges in the world. If you're just joining us, overnight, a cargo ship, a container ship, hit this bridge in Maryland, in Baltimore, Maryland. The entire bridge came down, and with it, all kinds of vehicles. They were doing work on the bridge. There were, personnel that were working on the bridge, doing like road work and that kind of thing, and also automobiles that were driving across the bridge as well. So that's what we know. And this press conference is wrapping up. Did I miss anything, Jay?
No, I mean, you pretty well summed it up. The ship was actually leaving Maryland this morning on its way to Sri Lanka. A 27-day trip was what was planned. And, it's amazing that apparently part of the structure did not strike the ship. In other words, it didn't collapse on top of the ship to put those folks in harm's way as well. Dan, I grew up in New Orleans, and, there are big bridges there over the Mississippi River. Mm-hmm. And I lived in Charleston, South Carolina for a number of years where there's, water everywhere and big bridges over these waterways. And when you're going over those things, and you see those huge ships coming up under the bridge, it always crosses your mind. Good grief. Gosh, I hope they never, none of these ships ever hit these bridges. Yeah. Gee, what would that be like? Well, unfortunately, we're witnessing that now.
Yeah, and you're wondering because when you look at the video, I tweeted out the video at Dan Mandis Show, but I mean, the video's everywhere. And there was plenty of room for this ship to make it between the columns. When the ship is going, you see the ship, and it's, I think, obviously trying to make it between the columns. But the theory is that maybe it lost power and it just floated right into the column and the support column, and that forced the ship to come down.
Yeah.
Or I should say the bridge to come down.
There's quite a bit of speculation exactly to that.
The ship plume of smoke that was coming out.
Yeah, it started to drift and struck the support columns.
Okay,
Just
so it's
really
5:46, and we just carried the press conference live, and Mason and Jay and I will all keep track of these press conferences, and when new information comes in, we will let you know. Now, Mason, where are we? So we've got 3 commercials that we've got to do. So let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is, Jay, I'm going to throw it to you. You're going to do the newscast that you had planned. Then we'll go to commercials, and then we'll get the top of the hour and everything else. We're just kind of loosey-goosey at this point because of the press conference and the breaking news. So, and I'm going to throw it to you live, Jay. So at 5:46, Jay, what is going on?
Sure, Dan. Get to this for you here. Of course, we're all dealing with this rain in the area. Be careful. Slick roads out there. We've got 58 degrees now. We'll get you a forecast and traffic reports and all that here soon. Again, if you're just joining us here and wondering what are we talking about, if you're just catching the tail end of discussions here, dive teams, they're still in the water in Baltimore. They're going to be there for a while, where the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed this morning. A cargo ship crashing into it. Emergency responders, they were searching for at least 7 people they believe to be in the river there. Sam Sweeney with ABC has more.
There are some reports that there may have been early warning that this large cargo ship was going to hit the bridge, and they may have stopped some of the traffic from entering the bridge. We are working to get all of those details. But they are calling this a dire mass casualty event. Multiple agencies are working this, and they have divers in the water.
It is clear that multiple vehicles are in the water. This again occurred about 1:30 in the morning, so it was very dark. The sun just coming up on the East Coast. WBAL Radio's Ken Duffy, he's been on the scene.
This happened in the middle of the night. At 1:30 in the morning, this thing hit the bridge, and they're trying to figure out how many other people could be in there. I mean, it's very hard to see out there. It's pitch black from what I can see in the distance. So it's got to be a really difficult task right now for them to get an assessment of how many people could be in there.
Again, as Dan says, as you can imagine, this is very much a developing story. We'll try to stay up on top of it as best we can. Switching now to the Russian terrorist attack. The TV stations there in Russia showing the capture of one of the ISIS terrorists who was allegedly part of that horrific attack on a concert hall over the weekend, killing 139 people and injuring about 200 more. There are 4 gunmen accused, and they were dragged into court yesterday, all bruised and bloody. ISIS has claimed responsibility for that attack. Martha Raddatz with ABC has more.
The U.S. warned Russia just 2 weeks ago of an imminent risk from ISIS-K, specifically at a concert venue.
Радикальных исламистов.
Vladimir Putin saying the attack was committed by radical Islamists, but not specifically ISIS, pointing the finger instead at Ukraine without evidence. The Ukrainians deny any involvement.
Let's go ahead and get to this market numbers report that's brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. They can be found at beaconcm.com. Before the opening bell, Dow futures up 108, the S&P 500 up 20, and the NASDAQ futures are up 88. That is the latest news. We'll get to some traffic and some weather here in a bit. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
All right, thank you, Jay. At 5:50 on Super Talk 99.7. So who do you trust when it comes to your money? Now, I turned to Paul Winkler years ago. Dan Mandis here, and a lot of these financial folks say different things, but those same people all have something to sell. So, of course, they're pitching their own products. Now, if you worked for a car company, wouldn't you say that your car is the best? Well, of course you would. It's the same thing with banks and insurance agents who sell investment products. Now, Paul Winkler is looking out for your best interests, and he's not going to try and sell you something. He's actually going to teach you how to relax about money. Now, you need to know when I get paid every time I do these commercials, but I wouldn't be doing them if I didn't believe in Paul and his guidance. And you will too when you call him for a free consultation. 615-851-1950, 615-851-1950. Paul's got 10 offices across Middle Tennessee. No doubt one near you. Find him online at paulwinkler.com. .552, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Listen, if you need a new appliance, DT McCall's has a great sale going on right now. If you need a washer and a dryer set, they've got side-by-sides and stacked with all the best brands, Frigidaire, LG, GE, and Samsung, to name just a few. They've also, of course, got kitchen appliances on sale, too, and that includes a scratch and dent sale. So many ways to save at My Place DT McCall's. This is happening at their Carthage location. It is going on this week, so if you need a new appliance, DT McCall's is the place to go. It is going on right now through the 30th at their Carthage location. They, of course, have 4 other locations as well. Franklin, Cookeville, Lafayette, and Lebanon, always online, dtmccalls.com.
Good morning. It is 6 a.m. and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. It is rainy, 58 degrees, a complete forecast and traffic in just a few minutes. A major collapse in Baltimore this morning of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. A container ship traveling outbound struck a support column. Officials say multiple vehicles remain in the water as a major emergency response is underway. WBAL Radio's Ken Duffy is on the scene.
This was a large container ship that hit one of the support columns that triggered basically this entire collapse of the bridge.
There was a press conference with Baltimore officials just a few moments ago. Dan Mandis and I will be discussing what is occurring and ongoing with this situation here throughout the morning, so please stay with us. Heavily armed federal authorities raiding homes belonging to rapper and entertainment mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The Department of Homeland Security confirming to ABC News that they, quote, executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation, unquote. Law enforcement sources say the investigation involves allegations of human trafficking. Combs has had multiple lawsuits leveled against him in recent months with allegations of sexual assault and sex trafficking. Combs has denied the allegations. The legal contributor for ABC News, Brian Buckmeyer, weighs in.
When you put it all together, who's making these allegations? Where are these allegations coming from? And who is the source of those allegations being directed to? A lot of it seems like it's Sean Combs. But again, that's just reading the tea leaves. I wouldn't put a dollar amount on to say this is how sure I am of it, but it looks like it's moving in one direction.
The market numbers report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Let's get to the numbers before the opening bell. The Dow futures up 101, the S&P 500 up 21, the NASDAQ futures up 92. That is the latest news. Again, stay with us here. We will continue to update you on what is transpiring with the collapse in Baltimore of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. This is as you can well imagine, a very fluid situation, and we'll stay on it as best we can. So that is the latest news, traffic and weather. They're coming up. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
6:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. It is indeed Nashville's Morning News, along with Mason Fleming, Jay Harper here as well. Johnny back tomorrow, and Ken Weaver will be back coming up next Monday. We've got a lot of news going on right now, including, as you have heard Jay and I speaking about for the last hour or so, this bridge collapse in Maryland, in Baltimore, Maryland. A lot of people, by the way, chiming in on the super text line at 615-737-9986. Also, the F&M Bank chat line that you can find accompanying the live stream video of this radio program. You can find that on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and at 997WTN.com. So, Jay, we aired this press conference live and the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and a lot of people chiming in on the super text line and saying that when the ship apparently had lost power, and so when a ship loses power, it loses its ability to steer, from what people are saying on the super text line. So that is why, as you and I were discussing earlier, that's why it just seemed to sort of float or drift right into the support column of that bridge and collapsed. And Jay, you've seen the video, as I have. I tweeted it out. Are you surprised that it collapsed so quickly? I'm not going to say that it collapsed easily, but I guess I'm just sort of taken aback by just how quickly it collapsed. I mean, it was just like the boat hits it and then it collapses.
Yeah, and Dan, that bridge was built, I have discovered, in 1977.
Yeah.
So almost 50 years of age. So I would like to think that maybe there are safety mechanisms built into the more modern bridges of the day. So perhaps that is, again, we're not structural engineers. Maybe there's one out there that could maybe lend a little insight into all of this. But nonetheless, I agree. It does seem to just go down in an instant.
Yeah, this is, there were, in case you missed it, there were vehicles on the bridge. There were also construction workers on the bridge. There were cars and trucks driving across the bridge when this whole thing happened. This is part of the press conference that just happened moments ago.
A ship may have struck the Key Bridge. We got further information through multiple calls that the Key Bridge, portions of the Key Bridge had actually collapsed. At about 0150 hours, our first unit arrived on scene and reported a complete collapse of the Key Bridge. We were also given information at that time that there were likely multiple people on the bridge at the time of the collapse, and that as a result, multiple people were in the water. We were able to remove 2 people from the water. One individual refused service and refused transport. Essentially, that person was not injured.
Yep. Let's see. 2065 says they could have lost steering or engines, probably engines, because that puff of smoke, which, Jay, you and I were talking about, that puff of smoke makes me think, he says, that they got engines up and went hard reverse before impact. So, and I don't know, I'm not a structural engineer. I can barely drive a pontoon boat. However, what I do know is that this is, as they said, a massive operation. It is a massive rescue operation. You've got people that perhaps are and have been trapped in their cars in the water for, 4 or 5 hours now.
Yeah, I mean, dealing with darkness. Also, keep in mind, this was a 1.6 mile long bridge. All of that steel, for the most part, is in the water, obscuring the rescue operations.
And they talked about the heavy currents as well when we aired the press conference, where, they said that this water is very, they say, current influenced. I would say that probably sounds like it's treacherous. So you've got the divers and you've got sonar, and they say that their sonar has found vehicles in the water, submerged, obviously, and if you watch the video of this bridge coming down, you know that you've got all of this steel, and it's going to be perhaps over or intertwined with some of these cars. It's going to be very difficult. Here's more from that press conference. They say that they did pull one person out of the water, and that person, they say, was not injured, didn't want to go to the hospital. Another person, though, the second person they pulled from the water, was injured and has been taken to the hospital.
However, there was another individual that's been transported to a local trauma center that is in very serious condition. At this time, we have multiple air assets from the Maryland State Police. We have multiple resources. We are still very much in an active search and rescue posture at this point, and we will continue to be for some time. We have a large area that we have to search. This includes on the surface of the water, subsurface, as well as on the deck of the ship itself. We believe at this point we may be looking for upwards of 7 individuals. That's the latest information we have. However, what I will say is the information that I'm giving you right now is as of right now. That's what we know right now.
Yeah, they do say, Jay, that it is a mass casualty event. They also talk about how this is going to be a very difficult search and rescue and ultimately recovery operation. By the way, I think one of the big issues, just looking ahead, is there's going to be an impact on the harbor, Baltimore harbor, the port, because now you're not going to have ships being able to come to and fro into and out of the port as easily as obviously they usually do because of this horrific accident. And so I don't know what that is going to do to the shipping lanes and all those kinds of things. That remains to be seen. But this is a huge, I've been to this particular neck of the woods. Most folks will tell you this is a massive port where there's a lot of ships, cargo ships and so forth, that ship and sail in and out of this particular port. And this particular ship was going out of the harbor, out of the port, and it was heading, Jay, you said, to Sri Lanka?
That's correct. A 27-day trip. So it was just heading out. And we are seeing pictures now, since the sun's come up, of the ship resting in place there as it's kind of abutted up against one of the support columns of the bridge. And it is loaded down with the big cargo containers.
Yeah, one more audio bite coming up after the traffic report here, and then we're going to do some weather because we do have some issues here in Middle Tennessee with the traffic because of the wet roadways and the rain. So at 6:15, time to check the roads from the WTN Traffic Center. All right, thank you very much. As far as your weather goes, it's going to be dry by this afternoon. That is the good news right now. It is 58 degrees. Wet roadways. Appreciate you listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN, talking with Jay Harper as we discuss this bridge collapse in Maryland. It is the Francis Scott Key Bridge. It was hit by a container ship registered out of Singapore. It was on its way to Sri Lanka. And so one of the things that they're trying to figure out is how many vehicles are in the water, because the number that we're hearing is 7. But from the press conference that we aired just a few minutes ago, they say it's in anywhere between 7 and 20 vehicles.
They had mentioned they think there are 7 people. Now, with respect to vehicles, I mean, you know, who knows? I mean, that's one of the things about a situation like this. You don't know who was on the bridge and how many were there. And, you know, it's not like maybe a building where you can pretty well ascertain how many people might be inside the building at any one given time.
You know, when you were looking at the video, and if you were on the bridge, do you think that you would be able to tell if that cargo ship was heading straight for that support beam? I'm trying to figure out if the people on the bridge, I mean, it's a big bridge, and I don't know how long that ship was drifting aimlessly towards that support column with the bridge, which is what it hit, which has forced the bridge to come down. If you were on that bridge, did you have much warning that this ship was going to hit that support column?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, good grief. It's 1:30 in the morning. And you're driving along, just kind of
Well, don't forget the workers on the bridge, too, because there were workers out on the bridge with their maintenance vehicles, and they're doing some sort of road work. And so if you're standing on the bridge, but here's the thing.
Maybe
That bridge is so large that even if you saw that this boat, this container ship, massive container ship, was drifting towards that support column, drifting towards the bridge, I don't think you would have had time to run.
Well, not only that, but I mean, let's face it, you drive over a bridge. Are you cognizant of where the support columns are?
No.
You're just...
No, if you were in the car, if you're driving along,
you don't have any
had
idea.
No idea.
No.
If you were standing on the bridge and doing maintenance, you may have had an idea. I don't know if maybe a boat, if the container ship has some sort of an alarm on it or a horn. If it has a horn and it could, sort of release a distress signal horn kind of a thing.
Yeah, like today's cars. You get too close to the car in front of you, it'll sound an alarm. I have no idea.
There's a lot of speculation, and for the rescue folks out there and the first responders in Baltimore dealing with this clear tragedy. As we said, we don't know how many cars, we don't know how many people. We just don't know, because when it comes to how many cars, okay, well then how many people were in the car? So there's a lot that we don't know, and we're probably not going to know this for quite some time.
Agreed.
Here's one more piece of audio from the press conference.
Over the next 8 to 12 hours, you can expect to continue to see our air and maritime assets functioning out on the water and in the air above. We need to do damage assessment of the ship itself before we can board that ship. And we need to continue our subsurface search, which is including different types of sonar. We have side scan sonar. We have other sonar capabilities here. We have underwater UAVs that we're working with. And throughout the night, we've also been working with infrared technology, both from the air and on the water surface. So I'm going to wrap up here with just saying this continues to be a search and rescue operation. It continues to be a very dynamic operation with multiple local, state, and federal resources involved.
All right, so it is 6:19, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I don't know, Jay, I think we've pretty much covered everything. The rescue, the search and rescue operation, massive operation continues. They're calling this clearly a mass casualty event. They're calling this a massive operation to try and recover as many people as they possibly can. Again, it's been 5 or so hours since this whole thing occurred. So this is going to be an ongoing thing. And by the way, you're right, it is now daylight in Baltimore, and we're getting a sense of just how bad this bridge collapse is. It is massive, and if you've seen the video of the bridge going down, it is horrifying, especially knowing that there were people driving across the bridge, and there were people that were working and probably standing on the bridge as well, because they did have construction and maintenance workers as well.
Yeah, and now that the sun's up, you would hope that things will, all of the rescue and all that will be expedited, of course, now that they can see what the heck's going on. But again, a 1.6 mile long bridge, and they say that it was about 189 feet tall, above the water, something like that. So, if you are somebody working on the bridge, I mean, not only are you falling into the water, but you're falling, 19, 20 stories.
Yep.
Gosh, just what a nightmare.
People are asking, why didn't the captain drop the anchor prior to impact? I don't know. It's a good question. And people are asking, do you think maybe this may have been intentional? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And how long did the ship's pilot have or realize that he was rudderless, essentially?
Right.
That may have not been, he may not have been aware of that in time. Obviously, you would like to think if he were aware of it in time, maybe he would have time to drop the anchor. But again, there's all these things we just don't know.
No, we don't. And if it is true, and that's what it looks like, is that this particular container ship with the big plume of smoke coming out, to me, that indicates that there was a mechanical failure of some sort on that cargo ship as it drifted towards that support column. But as you said, Jay, we just don't know. By the way, part of that press conference, they said that the crew is still on the container ship. And I'm assuming that somebody has spoken to the crew at this point. And I think I heard somebody somewhere mention, I'm reading a lot and seeing a lot, these kinds of container ships, they say, once they're loaded, once these ships are loaded, they only have, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 people on these ships. And so they don't have a massive amount of people. And when you're in a situation where it's like an oh crap moment, you would think the first thing that they would think about is dropping the anchor. But unless you're in that kind of a situation, you just don't know. So we'll, again, keep you updated on all of the latest. And we are going to cover other news as well. So it is right now 6:22 on Nashville's Morning News. The Super Text line, the Members Nutrition Super Text line is open, very active today. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Dan Mandis here with a question for you. If your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you really do need to ask, because some insurance companies refuse to pay full replacement cost. They're going to deduct money for an older roof. And this means that the insurance company will depreciate how much they pay for your roof claim. Now, that could leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. My friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 10-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they are going to pay for it to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. Their phone number is 615-329-8121. Get your royal review at tkinginsurance.com. 615-329-8121. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, tkinginsurance.com. 528, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Friends, if you need a great gift or maybe something for yourself, Brentwood Jewelry has something for everyone. Whether you're looking for a custom-designed engagement ring, earrings, maybe an incredible necklace, Brentwood Jewelry is not going to disappoint. They can also customize pieces for you as well. Now, Brentwood Jewelry is where I go for all of my jewelry these days. And ladies, they do have incredible watches as well. Amy bought me an amazing watch from Brentwood Jewelry. Now, whether it is a pre-owned Rolex or any of the other amazing brands and styles that they have, you can find a great timepiece that matches his personality and lifestyle at Brentwood Jewelry. They've got something for every price range and style, and they're located in the heart of Brentwood. Brentwood Jewelry, 7012 Church Street East, located in the heart of Brentwood, just off Franklin Road. Exceptional style, exceptional deals every day for over 50 years. BrentwoodJewelry.com.
Good morning. It is 6:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got rain, 58 degrees, a full forecast, and traffic in a few minutes. Yes, the bridge in Maryland, the collapse there is the top of the news after a cargo ship smashed into one of its pillars along Truss Bridge that traverses the Patapsco River, toppled into the water in the Baltimore area early this morning. ABC's Sam Sweeney has more on the significance of the bridge that collapsed in Baltimore, the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
This is also the designated hazmat bridge for the Baltimore area. It's the outermost bridge around the Baltimore harbor. So if you are a truck and you have hazmat, you can't use the tunnels. You have to use this bridge. Unclear exactly what that one tractor trailer they believe in the water was carrying, but as you can imagine, this is going to be a very difficult few days, a few weeks ahead for this area.
This, as you can well imagine, a very fluid story. Dan Mandis and I staying on top of it as best we can. In other news, the Supreme Court hears oral arguments today over the way the FDA has expanded access to the medication used in most abortions. Stephen Portnoy reports from Washington.
In 2016, the FDA expanded the limit for the use of mifepristone from 7 to 10 weeks. It cut the number of required doctor's office visits, and in 2021, the agency went further, eliminating the office visit requirement altogether. This case questions the FDA's ability to make those changes for a drug that opponents say can cause harm. But the court will first weigh whether those opponents have standing to sue. The Biden administration insists the drug agency made sound scientific judgments. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Back in Tennessee, a bill that would increase the penalty for making a threat of mass violence against a Tennessee school took an important step forward on Monday. The bill passed the state house with heavy bipartisan support with 90 ayes and 0 nays. Representative Bo Mitchell, a Democrat here in Nashville, introduced the legislation in the House. He said that it increases the penalty from a Class A misdemeanor to a Class E felony. He also went on to say all the amendment does is make this section not applicable to a person with intellectual disabilities. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Thank you, Jay. It's 6:33, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. With the weather changing, March is a critical time to check your home's windows. Now, if your windows are cracked or leaking, maybe they won't open, maybe they won't stay open, maybe they don't close properly, then it is time to call the pros and my friends at Window Nation. And right now, for every 2 windows you buy, you're going to get 2 windows free. There is no limit as to how much you could save. Plus, you could save even more with 0 money down, 0 interest, and no payments for 24 months. Window Nation's windows come with a lifetime warranty, and they can be installed in 1 day or less. This is the company that I turn to for windows in my basement studio. Now, with proven quality and service, it is no wonder thousands of homeowners have trusted Window Nation for their homes, and you can too. And don't forget about that great deal. Unlimited, buy 2, get 2 free, plus 0 money down, 0 interest, and no payments for 24 months. You simply cannot afford to wait, and it's easy. Call 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION. You can find them online. Schedule your free in-home estimate. It's windownation.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
637, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here along with Jay Harper, Mason Fleming as well. Johnny will be back tomorrow, and Ken Weaver will be back on Monday. And Jay, I've got this audio, and this is the dispatchers as they are finding out that the Key Bridge in Baltimore has collapsed into the river, into the harbor.
You know, that they have to be thinking, what are we hearing? I mean, can you imagine the dispatchers like, what are you saying? What happened?
Well, I've got the audio. Here it is. This is just been, I guess, released on the internet. I don't know how people get this stuff, but Aaron sent it to me. Thank you. And if you're, by the way, just joining us, I've got to set this up because people are tuning in all the time, especially in the 6 o'clock hour. We've got ongoing coverage of this bridge collapse. The Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed in Baltimore overnight. Now, what happened is a container ship, from what we can tell and from what the reports seem to be or are, is that the container ship lost power and drifted, striking the support column of this bridge that is about, what did you say, Jay, 50 years old?
Yeah, 1977, so close to it.
All right, so, and the moment that this container ship, loaded with containers, hits this bridge, it just collapses into the harbor. On this bridge, you had maintenance workers. You had people driving over the bridge. You have apparently a semi-truck was driving over the bridge, multiple vehicles as well. And so it's all over the internet. If you have not seen the video, go to my Twitter feed at Dan Mandis Show. I tweeted it out. But basically go anywhere and you can see this. Now, as you can imagine, if you're a dispatcher and you're used to, I mean, let's face it, this is Baltimore, right? A lot of shots fired and those kinds of things. Well, the call came in. This happened about, 1:30 local time there in Maryland. And the call comes in that vehicles are in the water and the bridge has collapsed. Listen to this.
At the Key Bridge, report of possible vehicle in the water. Harbor Rescue Alarm 695. Units respond.
The bridge is possible to get a better look, but I don't want to commit to the bridge if it's unstable. Communications and all units responding, hold the air. SOC 5, Battalion 6, and communications. I'm in Fort Armistead. Be advised, the entire bridge, the entire Key Bridge is in the harbor.
Dispatch the 2 remaining squad companies. Prepare for backfill of SOC units into the city.
Communications. Copy, command. What is it?
Several police officers on eastbound 695 that are stopping traffic so no more vehicles try to enter. We're going to try to get as close to the bridge as possible to get a better look, but I don't want to commit to the bridge if it's unstable.
Could you have command or SOC 5 just reconfirm the information that a majority or all of the Key Bridge has collapsed? I just need confirmation on that. Chief, that was the information that was conveyed by Engine Company 57.
SOC 5 to Car 1. I am at Fort Armistead Park. I do have a visual on it. I have confirmed that the entire Key Bridge has fallen into the harbor. I have also sent a picture to the 6th Battalion for him to start working from there.
Okay, message received. And your command post is going to be at Fort Armistead Park, correct? Battalion Chief 6 to communication. I'm arriving at Fort Armistead Park.
So there you go. You heard him. Confirm for me the entire bridge is in the water. And they said, yes, the entire bridge is in the water. And so now, Jay, what is the latest on vehicles in the water? It was previous, they said somewhere between, well, we don't know how many vehicles are actually in the water.
They are still claiming that they believe there were still 7 people in the water. One thing that has also been pointed out, and I had it in the previous newscast, is the fact that that bridge is the hazmat access in and out of that area. So trucks carrying hazardous material, there's tunnels there, and they're not supposed to go through the tunnel, so they got to take that bridge. Now, we don't know that there were any hazardous materials in vehicles other than the diesel fuel, I'm guessing, for maybe the trucks. But that in and of itself is kind of a potentially scary situation, Maybe you've got some hazardous materials other than diesel fuel in that river.
Yeah, and people are chiming in what if the ship tried to call 911 after they lost power? I think people are not understanding, and maybe I'm not explaining it correctly, but this happened. It was just 2 or 3 minutes where the ship loses power, at least it seems to me, where the ship loses power as it's approaching the Francis Scott Key Bridge. And it was the intention, I would assume, of the bridge, the ship's captain, to go between the support columns as they, make their way out of the harbor and into the sea. But it loses power as it approaches, and it hits and so that, in effect, you lose the ability to steer the ship, from what I understand, and it ends up hitting that support column, and down the Francis Scott Key Bridge goes.
Yeah, and people commenting, well, gee, did the pilot have time to drop the anchor? I mean, imagine how long that takes. You got this huge ship that's, I don't know how many feet high, but it's a big one.
Yeah.
Dropping in the anchor. How deep is that river? I mean, it's probably going to take a couple of miles at least for the anchor to drop and do its thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems a bit unreasonable. I mean, if he didn't notice that he was losing control of the ship until he was very close to hitting the bridge.
Well, then a whole bunch of folks saying the anchor is used in calm waters, current type waters, anchors just drag the soft bottom. All right. I don't know. People are asking, everybody's asking if I think this is terrorism. It was the cargo ship manned by terrorists, and did they purposely hit this particular bridge? We were talking about that earlier, Jay, and I don't think so, because if they really wanted to do that, they would have done it later on during morning drive.
Exactly.
When that bridge, I assume, that bridge ends up having a lot of people on going to and to work and so forth. So no, I don't. I rule nothing out. As a matter of fact, people on Twitter saying foul play has not been ruled out. So until foul play is officially ruled out, and until they speak to the guys on the ship and, figure out what in the world happened, and they can actually prove that with an investigation, I'm not ruling anything out. And we'll continue to cover this story and a whole lot more straight ahead. It is 6:45. Time to check the roads from the WTN Traffic Center. All right, thank you very much. It is 6:46 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Going to dry out later on today with highs in the 60s. Right now, 58 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can chime in on the Members Nutrition Super Text line, 615-737-9986, 615-737 WWTN. Very quickly, there's some other news going on. Big story. Sean P. Diddy Combs. People are asking me if I know about this story. Yes, I do. He is the target of a federal investigation. Really interesting story. Now, for you folks who don't know who P. Diddy is, I think he used to be known as Puff Daddy as well. And he is one of music's biggest moguls. I mean, he's a record producer. He's got his own record company. And he, of course, himself is a hip-hop artist. And apparently something went down at his Los Angeles and his Miami homes. This is from the Associated Press. 2 properties belonging to music mogul P. Diddy. Of course, I was the first one to say, what did he do? in Los Angeles and Miami. They were searched on Monday by federal Homeland Security investigations agents, and other law enforcement as part of an ongoing sex trafficking investigation by federal authorities in New York. According to two law enforcement officials, they tell the Associated Press it is not clear whether it was Combs himself. Was he the target of the investigation? The officials were not authorized to publicly discuss details of the investigation. They're speaking to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity. And again, this is because I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, who cares, who cares, who cares? It's a big story. It is a very big story. In a statement, Homeland Security investigators, they say that they executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI, Los Angeles, Miami, and local law enforcement as well. Apparently what happened is somebody tipped off P. Diddy. And so he took off. I guess what happens is he gets into his private jet and he flies from Van Nuys in Los Angeles all the way to Miami. And then from there, his plane went, I guess, to the Caribbean, eastern part of the Caribbean. He was not on the plane. People thought overnight, this is another one of those stories that was breaking, last night and overnight. They thought that P. Diddy was on that plane and fleeing America, but no, apparently not. By the way, two or three people were in handcuffs at the time all of this was going down. I don't know if they were actually arrested, but now Homeland Security investigations, they say that they have broad jurisdiction to investigate the illegal movements of people, goods, money, technology, contraband into, out of, and throughout the United States, and that does include sex trafficking. Now, in February, a music producer filed a lawsuit alleging P. Diddy coerced him to solicit prostitutes and pressured him to have sex with the prostitutes. Combs' attorney, Sean Hawley, said that those allegations have been made up and they are false, and they say that they have indisputable proof that these claims are complete lies. There's some other allegations as well out there regarding P. Diddy, and so this is going to be one of those stories where we're going to find out more and more about the allegations. There's several women out there that have accused P. Diddy, Sean Combs there, of doing all kinds of nastiness, including drugging and raping them and so forth, just those kinds of things. Now, in case you're wondering, because I know a lot of people want to know this, I'm seeing it on the super text line, not to bring politics into it, but of course I will. One of the questions is, okay, so where does he stand politically? Well, this is also making the rounds on social media. This is what he said about Donald Trump a while ago.
White men like Trump need to be banished.
Nice.
That way of thinking is real dangerous.
Mm-hmm. All right, so he clearly is not a fan of Donald Trump. He went on. He's, this guy clearly seems to be a bit of a race baiter.
If this man is elected, we're not standing by no more getting killed. We're not scared of anybody standing up and standing by. We're on the verge of a race war.
So there you go. And we'll keep you updated on Sean P. Diddy Combs. That was, by the way, back in 2020. He also gave $1,000 to Hillary Clinton. She has always been an advocate of his, and he has always been an advocate of hers as well. So, I don't know how he feels about Donald Trump now, but again, this is a big story, and CNN and other places are covering this as well. As far as whether or not he's been arrested, I don't believe that he has. I think that his plan, I believe, was to fly to the Caribbean and flee. They stopped him, though, in Miami. And so we'll keep you updated on that story and a whole lot more as the morning continues to unfold. Coming up at 7 o'clock, a complete update on what is going on with the Key Bridge collapse in Maryland. And I've got all the latest for you along with Jay Harper. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I love Zero Res. Now, they are the official carpet cleaning company of my house because they do great work. They're on time and they leave you with soft, fluffy carpets. Right now, a great deal for you. 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for only $109 plus. You get a free hallway as well. That is over $70 in savings. Plus, you also get a free dryer vent cleaning when you get your air ducts cleaned. And they're also offering 20% off of tile cleaning. In other words, so many ways to save from My Place for Carpet Cleaning Zero Res. Now, remember that with cold and flu season, those germs actually live in your carpet. Well, you know, Zero Res can get rid of 90% of those germs and bacteria that make you sick. So call them today. Don't forget that great deal. 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for only $109, and you get a free hallway. 615-535-9376. Book online at ZeroResNashville.com. What an absolute mess. Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and look at my closets. Unorganized to say the least. Even my window dormer is a train wreck. Stuff is everywhere. Now, luckily, California Closets is coming to my rescue. My personal design consultant, Vince, stopped by, measured, and is now showing me how to become more space efficient and organized on his 3D CAD system. It is amazing. And soon, my space is going to be organized, and yes, even Bandit approves. California Closets, a local company that can customize the storage in any room of your house. California Closets, what can they do for you? Find them online at californiaclosets.com and reach out for your free in-home consultation.
Good morning. It's 7 a.m. and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. It is rainy and cloudy, 58 degrees, a full forecast and traffic coming up. A major rescue effort is underway in Baltimore after the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge early this morning. A cargo ship rammed into one of the bridge's pillars, causing the collapse of the middle portion of the bridge. It's believed that there are some cars and a construction crew on the bridge at the time of the collapse. According to confidential briefing memos from federal officials obtained by ABC News, they claim about 20 people are missing, and there may have been efforts made by the ship's crew to notify bridge officials before they hit the pillar. They are saying, according to ABC correspondent Pierre Thomas, that there is a federal investigation underway. The FBI reportedly on the scene. The preliminary information is still, however, pointing to an accident, but they can't take any chances, so the FBI will be conducting a background check on the captain and the crew just to make sure they understand everything there is to know about where they came from, what their activities are, because they can't leave anything to chance until they know for certain that this was, in fact, an accident. So a lot of flowing news, a very fluid situation continuing there in Baltimore. Russian TV showing the capture of one of the ISIS terrorists who allegedly staged a horrific attack on a concert hall over the weekend. 139 people confirmed dead and about 200 folks injured. All four accused gunmen were dragged into court yesterday, all bruised and bloodied. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack. ABC's Martha Raddatz has more.
The U.S. warned Russia just 2 weeks ago of an imminent risk from ISIS-K, specifically at a concert venue.
Радикальных исламистов.
Vladimir Putin saying the attack was committed by radical Islamists, but not specifically ISIS, pointing the finger instead at Ukraine without evidence. The Ukrainians deny any involvement.
A bill that would increase the penalty here in Tennessee for making a threat of mass violence against a Tennessee school took an important step forward yesterday. The bill passed the State House with heavy bipartisan support with 90 ayes and 0 nays. Representative Bo Mitchell, a Democrat here in Nashville, introduced the legislation in the House. He said that it increases the penalty from a Class A misdemeanor to a Class E felony. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather there next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
7:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It looks like about 50 seconds, Jay Harper. 50 seconds from the time that container ship lost power to when it hit that Francis Scott Key Bridge. That's what I'm seeing on the internet. Now, the question is, and Jay was reporting on this earlier, okay, so what exactly happened here? And Jay, I don't know if you're monitoring me or maybe listening to some audio, but I think I heard Jay report that investigators do want to speak to the folks, obviously, clearly, who were manning this ship, driving this container ship that hit the Francis Scott Key Bridge, causing it to collapse into the water. But
yeah, that's correct, Dan. I mean, it's standard operating procedure these days. I mean, it's just a sign of the times. 60 years ago, something like this happened. And, terrorism, you never really would have crossed your mind initially. I mean, remember the car that went across the Canadian border and burst into flames and all, and it was suspected to be a terrorist attack and turned out not to be. But but yeah, standard operating procedure. ABC News, they have obtained confidential briefing memos from federal officials, and they claim about 20 people are missing. And that the bridge of the ship apparently did try to notify the bridge itself, the people on the bridge there, that, they had lost control of the ship. But yeah, the FBI, they're investigating and looking at the background of the pilot and the crew. And again, that's the times we live in. So they are investigating.
I want to play a piece of audio here. The U.S. Coast Guard says it has 3 small boats on the scene of the Baltimore Bridge collapse. This is a member of the Coast Guard.
Right now is search and rescue, looking for any survivors in the water. On scene, we currently have 3 small boats. We also have Coast Guard cutter Mako, an 87-foot patrol boat. We have a helicopter from Air Station Atlantic City, and we're working.
All right, so there you go. By the way, I'm seeing this on Twitter, so it must be true. They do say, and the Red Eye guys were talking about this as well, they say, FYI, every ship passing under that bridge gets a pilot from the port who boards the ship and guides it. Major malfunctions like power outage would be impossible to overcome. Don't blame the captain just yet. The pilot from the port was likely in charge. So, yeah, there is so much that we don't know right now. And if you're just tuning in, if you just tuned in at like 7:04 and wondering what in the heck we're talking about, there's been a major disaster in Baltimore, Maryland. There's a big bridge there. It's called the Francis Scott Key Bridge. And it was hit by a container ship, a cargo ship. And what appears to have happened is that the cargo ship lost power, and then it looks to me maybe a minute or so after it lost power, and it drifted right into the support beam of this ship, of this bridge. And so it hits the bridge, and everyone that was driving on that bridge, everyone who was working on that bridge, because there were workers on the bridge as well, the whole thing just folded like a house of cards, collapsed like a house of cards. And so now the question is, how many people are in the water? How many cars are in the water? And Jay, I know that there's different reporting out there, and it's driving me absolutely nuts. But so maybe you can help me. How many people do they say are missing? You said that there's about 20 people missing?
That's according to ABC News. They claim to have gotten a hold of a confidential briefing from some memos from federal officials, and they say that they're estimating 20 people are missing.
Okay, and the ship was out of, where was it out of? It was registered out of Singapore, and it was on its way to Sri Lanka. It was leaving the port, and so now they're just trying to figure out how to find these folks. And obviously, a lot of boats in the water and a lot of metal, a lot of steel. And they've got sonar, they've got divers that are out there looking for, the cars and if there's anybody that they're actually going to be rescued. This happened, by the way, at about 1:30 in the morning, Maryland time, and this has been going on ever since. And so, obviously, I mean, we're all adults here. The possibility if somebody was in a car and it plunged into the harbor, I don't know if they can survive that. So
yeah, especially as tall as that bridge.
How tall did you say it is?
Well, I think they were saying at its peak, 189 feet.
189 feet.
Yeah.
All right. Earlier, there was a press conference, and one of the main emergency authorities there in Baltimore, he was talking about how this is a massive recovery search and rescue operation.
A ship may have struck the Key Bridge.
That's the call they got.
We got further information through multiple calls that the Key Bridge, portions of the Key Bridge had actually collapsed. At about 01:50 hours, our first unit arrived on scene and reported a complete collapse of the Key Bridge. We were also given information at that time that there were likely multiple people on the bridge at the time of the collapse, and that as a result, multiple people were in the water. We were able to remove 2 people from the water. One individual refused service and refused transport. Essentially, that person was not injured.
Yeah, they say that this Francis Scott Key Bridge, by the way, built, I think, in Jay, did you say 1977 it was built?
That's what they are reporting, yes.
1977 it was built. So this is a very old bridge. It's one of the biggest bridges in the world. And I guess part of my question would be, because I'm a curious sort, I was taken aback by how quickly this thing just collapsed. I mean, the cargo ship hit that support beam, and it just, I mean, that's the example that I'm...
matchsticks, man.
Like matchsticks, like a house of cards. It just fell. And so the people on the bridge didn't have any warning, and even if they did, they wouldn't have been able to escape. If they were standing on the bridge, and maybe the maintenance workers, whatever, they were standing on the bridge, and it gets hit by this ship, but if they see that it's coming, they see that it is drifting, and it's heading straight for that support column, I mean, they couldn't have run off of the bridge because it was such a massive bridge, and a big section of the bridge is now in the water. So
yeah, and then also the major truss is resting on the nose of the ship. And if you were a ship worker up in the front of the ship, you probably wouldn't have had time to run.
No.
Because the bridge has collapsed right on the nose of that ship.
You know what's amazing about this, about the images that we're seeing, Jay, is that the ship itself, the bridge didn't collapse onto the ship. The ship is still butted right up against that structure.
Well, part of the bridge is on the nose of the ship.
Yeah.
But,
is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's resting. That's what I was saying. I mean, the collapsed bridge is resting on top of the nose of the ship, and
but it didn't sink.
No, man, and it's still sitting there, loaded down with all those cargo containers.
I wonder if there's a surveillance camera or something on the ship itself. There must be. I think they have to. So that also is something that they'll want to check out. Got to run to the traffic. It is 7:16. Time to check the roads from the WTN Traffic Center. (7:17) Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Wet roadways, but the rain is going to give way to clearer skies, drier by this afternoon. Right now it's 59 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Want to talk a little bit more about the bridge collapse in Maryland. I've got a little bit more audio to play for you. Then we're going to switch gears, and we're going to talk about Donald Trump's amazingly epic day yesterday. This was, I think for people who are supporters of Donald Trump and have been watching what is going on in New York sort of helplessly, watching as the former president is doing whatever he possibly can do to raise that $450 million. He got a huge break yesterday, and there has been a lot of reaction to that. I know that you probably know by now that bond was reduced from $450 million to $175 million or so. I've got all the latest reaction and the details straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 7:17. Talking about the authorities in Maryland and what exactly it is that they are dealing with, and the calls that they got about 1:30 in the morning, and how they're trying now to conduct this massive search and rescue. They said that they did pull one person out of the water. That person was uninjured. However, there was a second person that was injured.
However, there was another individual that's been transported to a local trauma center that is in very serious condition. At this time, we have multiple air assets from the Maryland State Police. We have multiple resources. We are still very much in an active search and rescue posture at this point, and we will continue to be for some time. We have a large area that we have to search. This includes on the surface of the water, subsurface, as well as on the deck of the ship itself. We believe at this point we may be looking for upwards of 7 individuals. That's the latest information we have. However, what I will say is the information that I'm giving you right now is as of right now. That's what we know right now.
And that was, I think, maybe an hour and a half ago. And so, as Jay mentioned, the news and the updates, they are constantly changing. One more audio bite as they discuss in greater detail how massive of an operation this is in Baltimore.
Over the next 8 to 12 hours, you can expect to continue to see our air and maritime assets functioning out on the water and in the air above. We need to do damage assessment of the ship itself before we can board that ship. And we need to continue our subsurface search, which is including different types of sonar. We have side scan sonar. We have other sonar capabilities here. We have underwater UAVs that we're working with. And throughout the night, we've also been working with infrared technology, both from the air and on the water surface. So I'm going to wrap up here with just saying this continues to be a search and rescue operation. It continues to be a very dynamic operation with multiple local, state, and federal resources involved.
All right, it is 7:20 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And we'll continue to give you all the latest as it continues. I think for now, if you have not seen the video, it is incredible video. You can see it. I tweeted it out at Dan Mandis Show. But basically, anywhere you go on the internet this morning, you're going to be able to find that video. And again, it is horrifying and incredible. It is 7:21. And Jay Harper was coming up in the news at 7:30.
Yeah, Dan, we'll give you more information as to what we know regarding the collapse of this Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore earlier this morning. And also the Supreme Court today, they're hearing oral arguments over the way the FDA has expanded access to that abortion medication. We'll be updating you on that as well, coming up at the bottom of the hour.
All right, thank you, Jay. 7:21 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here. And, I see all of the insanity in the world today, and I'm more worried than ever, not only about the direction of our country, but our society as a whole than ever before. So as patriots and those of us who don't depend on our government to take care of us, we need to be self-sufficient. We need My Patriot Supply, which is, of course, they provide a lot of things for patriots, but emergency food is definitely one of them. Now, since 2008, My Patriot Supply has helped millions of American families prepare for a very uncertain future, and they can help you just like they're helping me. Now, right now, they've got a great deal going on for listeners to my show. You get $200 off each 3-month food kit when you go to preparewithmandis.com. Now, that's where you're going to find a vast array of emergency food kit options, great food and drink varieties, so nobody is going to starve or get bored with the variety. And remember, each 3-month food kit is going to be $200 off right now if you go to my website. It's preparewithmandis.com. Preparewithmandis.com. Now, they ship fast, free, and more than anything else, you are protecting your family. Now, this food lasts for 25 years in special, sealed, ultra-durable packaging. That's preparewithmandis.com for $200 off each 3-month food kit. And again, that is at preparewithmandis.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
727 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here along with Mason Fleming, Jay Harper as well. Johnny B returns tomorrow. Ken Weaver is back on Monday. I know, coming up next, of course, we've got Jay Harper with all the news, the very latest coming out of Baltimore. And then we're going to talk about Donald Trump. And we're going to talk about his really big, epic day that he had yesterday. It was a day that we've all been hoping for and waiting for. It finally arrived. And so, of course, as you can imagine, the folks on the left, now the media, they are hyperventilating because this judge basically has thrown Donald Trump a lifeline. But I believe that what this judge did is really try and restore some constitutional sanity to what's going on in the state of New York. So we've got that story for you and a whole lot more straight ahead. It is 7:29 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Super Text line, the Members Nutrition Super Text line, is open right now. Loving your comments at 615-737-9986. Also, if you'd like to watch the radio show, you can on Super Talk TV. That is Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and also 99.7 WTN.com. And, of course, don't forget YouTube. Cove Generator. You know, when we can look forward to those high winds and storms and possible tornadoes and power outages, you need to think about whether or not you are ready for all of those, because that is what happens in spring, and it is now officially spring. Now, if you're not ready or if you're not sure, you better call Generator Dave at Cove Generators. Now, they can get you storm ready with a Generac home standby generator, the absolute best in-home generators. Now, Cove will install these generators seamlessly into your home. So the second the power goes out, your generator kicks on. Not to mention, they are partners with you. So what they're going to do is guide you through the purchase. You can install, and once you make that purchase, they continue with that outstanding customer service. If there's a problem with your generator, if you have questions about the generator that you purchased, you can always call Generator Dave. They are always going to help you no matter what, because their focus is customer service. So call them at 931-559-3311. If you've already got a generator, Cove Generators can maintain any brand of generator that you own. 931-559-3311. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 931-559-3311, covegenerators.com.
Good morning. It is 7:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Cloudy, still a few sprinkles, 58 degrees on Music Row. A complete forecast and another traffic report are coming up. A major rescue effort is underway in Baltimore after the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge early this morning at about 12:30 our time. A cargo ship rammed into one of the bridge's pillars, causing the collapse of the middle portion of the bridge. It's believed that there were some cars and a construction crew on the bridge at the time. According to confidential briefing memos from federal officials obtained by ABC News, about 20 people are missing, and there may have been efforts made by the ship's crew to notify bridge officials before they hit the pillar. The bridge is, as you can well imagine, a major artery for vehicle and shipping traffic in that area. More than 12 million cars travel on this bridge. At least that's what happened last year. So you're talking about a massive amount of travelers going over the bridge. It's a very popular bridge, a very popular waterway for that matter. We see how large that waterway is, leading right through to the port of Baltimore. By the way, the Baltimore port is the 6th largest in the country. The Supreme Court, they hear oral arguments today over the way the FDA has expanded access to the medication used in most abortions. Here's national correspondent for ABC News, Stephen Portnoy.
In 2016, the FDA expanded the limit for the use of mifepristone from 7 to 10 weeks. It cut the number of required doctor's office visits, and in 2021, the agency went further, eliminating the office visit requirement altogether. This case questions the FDA's ability to make those changes for a drug that opponents say can cause harm. But the court will first weigh whether those opponents have standing to sue. The Biden administration insists the drug agency made sound scientific judgments. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
That is the latest news, traffic and weather. There next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Thank you, Jay. 7:32 on Nashville's Morning News. Friends, you know, when it comes to your home, maintenance is key, especially your HVAC unit, which is why I am a Beehive member from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Now, I just got my text a couple of weeks ago reminding me that it is time for my spring tune-up. Now, that is part of the service. Now, that ensures that I'll be running at peak efficiency for maximum comfort thanks to Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Now, again, I'm a Beehive member. I think I've been a Beehive member for like 10 years now. And as Beehive members, you get 3 thorough maintenance services a year, including plumbing, plus 10% off of all repairs, front-of-the-line service, and no overtime or holiday fees. Now, that's all part of the terrific service from Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Now, all that maintenance does mean that you are saving money in the long run by ensuring that your HVAC and your plumbing are taken care of. Because at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, they would rather fix and maintain your current system than have to install a brand new system. They want to save you money. So call them today and become a Beehive member at 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
7:38, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll keep you updated. If there's anything new on the Baltimore bridge collapse, we will certainly let you know. But right now, it's just a massive search and rescue operation. If there's any new information, we will get it to you first and fast here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Guy on Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter at Dan Mandis Show. I think that he's trolling me because either that or he's on copious amount of drugs. He says, I listen to at Dan Mandis Show and I never hear him, Ken, or Johnny ever talk or mention Donald Trump and what is going on with the former president. He says, I'm just curious why I haven't heard y'all mention or talk about what he is going through. Keith, are you on crack? Like, I think Keith is, and whatever he's on, I would like to also be as detached from reality. I talk about this stuff every single day. But I do thank you for listening, Keith, over there on Twitter. And Real Mr. Cellophane has tweeted in, or I should say texted in, on the Members Nutrition super text line. And one of the things that he said is that this is just so sad, Dan. He says, you still don't know that Donald Trump raised almost $500 million cash on Friday morning. Trump posted that on Truth Social a little after 6 a.m. on Friday. Yeah, I reported that on Monday. I'm not sure why it is that Real Mr. Cellophane, and I love you, Real Mr. Cellophane, because you listen all the time, and I do appreciate it. But I reported that and a whole bunch of other stuff yesterday. Unfortunately, I've only got so many hours in the day to report everything, but I think I did the Trump story at least once. But now, of course, as you no doubt know, and by the way, that's also part of the discussion is, you know, you got Chris Hand and you got Matt Murphy and you got Brian Wilson. All of us talk about this stuff all day long. So if there's something that I miss, I can guarantee you that Chris or Matt or Brian are going to pick me up. And so that's the purpose of Live and Local, 5A7P here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 6437 says, old Keith over there on Twitter has reefer madness. I don't know if he's got reefer madness. You know what I will tell you, though, is that Donald Trump is really happy. So here's what happened. Couple of things. Number one is, and I'm just going to paraphrase what happened on Friday, Trump was able to navigate a deal where he was able to basically merge with another company, with Truth Social. And that meant that he was able to get something like $3.4 billion, if I'm not mistaken. Massive, massive deal for Donald Trump. Totally outplays Letitia James. And I said that yesterday. Outplays Letitia James, the Attorney General in New York. Because, you know, the $450 million that he was ordered to pay, it was completely unfair. And so the point was Trump was supposed to pay this $450 million bond for him to even be able to appeal the case. And it was complete and utter BS. But that's ultimately what Judge Engoron, a completely crooked Trump-hating judge, as Donald Trump himself likes to say. And so between the Attorney General, Letitia James, who literally ran on bringing down Donald Trump, and this Judge Engoron, hates Donald Trump, of course. The whole trial was a fiasco. And at the end of the day, that's what they were going to do. They were going to run around and taking over some of Donald Trump's properties. So Trump was able to come to this deal. That was number one. Then number two, he was able to get a judge, an appellate judge, to lower that $450 million to something like $175 million. This was Donald Trump yesterday when he received the news. Here's what he had to say, and need some audio if I could.
We appreciate and respect the appellate division very much, and we will, I think, do very well in that whole thing. We have a judge who I believe is a crooked judge and a crooked Attorney General, absolutely crooked. We did nothing wrong at all, 100%, and that was proven, and everybody there said it was proven. All you have to do is read the legal scholars, and you see that it was proven.
Yep.
But we will continue with that, but we appreciate very much the decision of the appellate division. Thank you very much. What's your collateral for the bond? Cash.
There you go. That last part actually went viral. You heard the reporter say, you know, what's your collateral?
What's your collateral for the bond? Cash.
He turns around, he says cash, and he walks out. And it was like just just a mic drop kind of a moment. So this is very good news for Donald Trump. The headline, of course, Trump vows to pay fraud trial bond cut by 68% to $175 million. The former president has 10 days to post the reduced bond. And, you know, the media is just hyperventilating over this. And, of course, all of the A-hats on MSNBC and some of the other channels, CNN as well, they're hyperventilating over the fact that this judge actually did what he did. I don't know who the judge is. But this is obviously, again, great news for the former president, because now he's able to pay this bond. He can get an appeal, and perhaps a new judge will look at this case and say, number one, this whole thing is horrifically unconstitutional, and number two, just from the standpoint of whether or not this was fair or not. I mean, there's two things here. There's number one, did Donald Trump commit any kind of a crime? And I don't believe that he did, but he ended up having to pay being asked to pay $450 million in a bond. Even though this is a situation where the partners that he was working with, the banks that he was working with, when he gave the values of his properties, the ones that Letitia James say he overinflated, the banks did their own investigation and they said no, and everybody made money on the deal. I know you folks know this. I know that for a lot of you, this is just one big retrace. This is what Jonathan Turley had to say about this last night on Fox News. He says that it is understandable that the appellate judge actually came to this ruling.
This is simply to allow another judge to review what Engoron did. So what they're complaining about is that Trump didn't have to do a fire sale on his property just to be able to get other judges to look at this ruling. And the ruling is ludicrous. That is, the ruling is based on really speculative numbers by the court. You drill down, there's nothing really there. And then the problem, of course, is that the penalty in this case should have been $1 because no one lost $1. Right. The people that were the supposed victims, these companies, these banks, wanted more business from Trump.
Trump's lawyers had asked the state appeals court to either reduce the amount of money that he had to post or stay the award without him posting any security while he appeals Engoron's order. Now, you heard what Jonathan Turley had to say. I've got, I think, one or two more sound bites from him. And finally, at least sort of rationally, we have a judge that is looking at this and saying that Engoron was wrong to try to impose that much of a fine on the former president. And, of course, Engoron and Letitia James, they're trying to do whatever they can to take down Donald Trump. 7:46. Time to check the roads from the WTN Traffic Center. $7:47, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. As far as your weather, it's going to be dry by this afternoon and going to be high. Mason, you said the high is going to be what today? Help me out.
High is 68 today.
High of 68 degrees today, and right now it is 58 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We got a lot going on in here, friends. Got the breaking news from Baltimore with the bridge collapse. We've been talking about that, covering that all morning long. We have the complete update for you coming up in the news at 8 right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Going over what happened to Donald Trump yesterday, and it really was a mic drop moment where, the former president, he found out that appellate judge is going to and has now reduced that fine from $450 million to $175 million. And for the former president, Donald Trump, I mean, this is huge.
What's your collateral for the bond? Cash.
What's the collateral? I'm going to pay cash. That's what Donald Trump said. And a lot of people, as he was walking towards the door, he's got all of these, very well-dressed team of lawyers around him. He turns around and that one word, cash. And so, again, for the former president, a great day. Playing audio from Jonathan Turley, and he does point out that it was clear that this Judge Engoron was unreasonable when he said that Donald Trump did have to pay $450 million to simply appeal that ruling. There were legal scholars all over the country who were scratching their head at this.
Now, what the judge ordered in New York was supervision, and you could have stopped there, right? If you think that there's undervaluing and overvaluing, then sure, order supervision. But that's not what this judge wanted to do. This judge picked an arbitrary number that made it almost impossible for Trump to secure an appeal to protect his businesses unless he was willing to sell off some of his businesses.
So there you go. That is more from Jonathan Turley. And I think that part of what I'm hoping is going to happen is on appeal, clearly this whole case ultimately gets dismissed. I don't know if that's going to happen. I remember speaking to Hans von Spakovsky about this. I mean, many times I've been speaking to Hans von Spakovsky and other legal eagles, and they have all said that New York, by and large, is a complete and utter cesspool when it comes to its anti-Trumpism. So hopefully he gets in front of a reasonable and rational judge. That's number one. And number two is it is, I believe, Donald Trump's goal to ultimately try to get this in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. Here's more from Jonathan Turley.
It's not that they necessarily like Trump, but they don't like what they're seeing, particularly in New York. They've created this inescapable political vortex that used to be a legal system.
Yeah, he's talking about the polling where, I mean, you talk about any number of polls that have been out there in the last couple of months where the longer this goes on, the American people are realizing that Donald Trump is right. This whole thing is a witch hunt. I think the last one of the last polls I saw was that 58% of those polled thought that there was politics involved in all of these cases against Donald Trump. As you know, we like to say, and that's what the experts call it, lawfare, using the legal system to try to take down a political candidate.
And it's damaging not just the courts, it's damaging the city. Who wants to go to a city where they try to get you to sell off your property just to get an appeal to look at what a judge did? And so the damage there has been below the waterline. It's going to have to be repaired. But now the New York Court of Appeals could restore some integrity to their system and look at this number. There's two issues here. You know, whether he overvalued and undervalued, that's something very common in the real estate area. But the other major issue is, does this violate the Constitution? Almost $500 million in penalty when no one lost a single cent.
7:51 on Super Talk 99.7. And Jay Harper, what's coming up in the news at 8?
Yes, sir, Dan. The rescue effort underway in that Baltimore bridge collapse. We'll have the latest, of course. And a major hip-hop artist and producer under the federal microscope. And with road rage on the increase, a Tennessee legislator is proposing some tougher penalties for all that. We'll have those stories at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you, Jay, very much. It's 7:52. Springtime is officially here, but if you've lost that spring in your step because of sports injuries, my friends at the Kellum Stem Cell Institute can help you with those nagging sports injuries and so much more. So my question to you is, what ails you? Now, so many of us deal with sports injuries like concussions, maybe Lou Gehrig's disease, autism. How about congestive heart failure, asthma, arthritis? You know, a lot of these things can be helped from the Kellum Stem Cell Institute. There is good news, whether it is you or a loved one suffering. This cutting-edge therapy is available for you from the Kellum Stem Cell Institute. Dr. Ethan Kellum specializes in the harvesting of and then the redeploying of your own stem cells to attack inflammation in your body to help it heal. This is your body providing your cells and your solutions, and Dr. Ethan Kellum can help you today. They do also now accept Care Credit. You can find them online at KellumStemCellInstitute.com. That's two L's, KELLUM, KellamStemCellInstitute.com. That phone number for your free consultation is 615-850-4415. The Kellam Stem Cell Institute, your body, your cells, your solution. What an absolute mess. Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and look at my closets. Unorganized to say the least. Even my window dormer is a train wreck. Stuff is everywhere. Now, luckily, California Closets is coming to my rescue. My personal design consultant, Vince, stopped by, measured, and is now showing me how to become more space efficient and organized on his 3D CAD system. It is amazing. And soon, my space is going to be organized, and yes, even Bandit approves. California Closets, a local company that can customize the storage in any room of your house. California Closets, what can they do for you? Find them online at californiaclosets.com and reach out for your free in-home consultation.
Good morning. We're coming up. Well, hey, it's exactly 8 a.m. And I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Cloudy, 59 degrees. The full weather forecast and traffic are in just a few minutes. A major rescue effort underway in Baltimore after the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge early this morning at about 12:30 our time. A cargo ship rammed into one of the bridge's pillars, causing the collapse of the middle portion of the bridge. It's believed there were some cars and a construction crew on the bridge at the time. According to confidential briefing memos from federal officials obtained by ABC News, about 20 people are missing, and there may have been efforts by the ship's crew to notify bridge officials before they struck the pillar. ABC's Terry Moran has been at the scene of the collapse. He says the bridge, of course, is a major artery for shipping traffic, and already ships are backing up into the Atlantic Ocean, and they're looking for other ports, heading to New York or perhaps to Newport. This is going to be a major problem for cargo on the East Coast. Heavily armed federal authorities raiding homes belonging to rapper and entertainment mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The Department of Homeland Security confirming to ABC News that they, quote, executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation, unquote. Law enforcement sources saying the investigation involves allegations of human trafficking. Combs has had multiple lawsuits leveled against him in the last few months with allegations of sexual assault and sex trafficking. Combs has denied the allegations. Here's ABC's Brian Buckmeyer. He's got more.
When you put it all together, who's making these allegations? Where are these allegations coming from? And who is the source of those allegations being directed to? A lot of it seems like it's Sean Combs. But again, that's just reading the tea leaves. I wouldn't put a dollar amount on to say this is how sure I am of it, but it looks like it's moving in one direction.
Tennessee lawmakers, they're looking to toughen road rage penalties. Senator Jeff Yarbrough, he's crafted the Anti-Road Rage Act. It would create a Class E felony for a driver or a passenger who recklessly shoots a gun at somebody. It also creates a Class A misdemeanor for anyone who just flashes a gun at another driver. The average jail stint is 15 days. According to the Gun Violence Archive, between 2019 and 2023, there have been a total of 60 incidents, or an average of 12 incidents per year, of road rage in Tennessee, where somebody pulled a gun and threatened somebody with it. And finally, Market Numbers Report. It's brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. You can find them online at beaconcm.com. The market is open. Here are the opening numbers. The Dow down 162, the S&P 500 down 16, and the NASDAQ index down 44. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather. They're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.807 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Breaking news out of Baltimore. They're saying no indication this is a terrorist act. You know, Jay, people are out there saying, well, of course it had to be a terrorist act. They had a camera placed right there at the bridge when the container ship hit the bridge and made it collapse. Well, that's a stationary camera, folks.
Yeah.
All of the harbors and ports have them.
I mean, and let's face it, there are surveillance. I mean, during the course of a day, if you're out in public, odds are you're being caught on surveillance video at one time or another.
Yeah. Yeah. And I again, we've been covering this all morning. I just don't see this as a terror attack. People are also asking, how is it that the boat could have, because you and I were talking about this earlier, how is it the boat, if they only had, 50 seconds, a minute, couple of minutes, whatever it was, when they realized that they were going to collapse with the bridge and hit that structure, how would they be able to do that? How would they be able to warn the people on the bridge? And the only thing that I can think of is some sort of a distress signal or some sort of a distress horn.
Yeah, you would think maybe exactly that they're just laying on the horn of the ship, and you would think maybe folks that work on the bridges, they know that that's unusual for maybe somebody, for a ship to just lay on a horn like that.
Yep.
And hey, well, what's going on? This isn't normal. Why is this guy laying on the horn for a minute or longer or whatever it may have been?
Yeah, but people, somebody sent me a video of someone driving over this bridge to give an example about how massive this bridge is. It is huge. And so the fact that, it fell so easily is one of those things that I'm sure people will be looking at, because if there's other bridges that are 50 years old, this thing was built in 1977. So you do the math. I think that's about 50 years. And so how many other bridges are out there that are maybe like this bridge, and how easily could they be taken down? That's also one of the worries, that even though I don't believe that this was a terrorist attack, there might be some bad guys out there that are thinking, because that's what they do.
Yeah. Wow. What an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Look at the havoc that caused. The bridge is huge. The container ship is huge, 155,000 tons.
Gosh. That thing is massive. They've got, now that it's light out in Baltimore, they've got all of these, big, massive containers. I guess the best way to describe the containers on this ship is like if you see a train going by and it's like a I don't know what you call it, but a train that pulls cargo. Those big cargo cars are basically what these things are on this ship that hit the bridge. And so we'll keep you updated as time goes on. It's going to be an ongoing story, not only today, but for a long time. I got some requests on the Super Text line, which, by the way, is very busy this morning. Thank you, 615-737-9986. Got some requests for me to play this audio again of the dispatchers when all of this, when they started to begin to realize that the bridge had collapsed after being hit by the cargo ship and was actually in the water. Listen.
That's a key bridge. Report of possible vehicle in the water. Harbor rescue alarm 695. Units respond.
The bridge is possible to get a better look, but I don't want to commit to the bridge if it's unstable. Communications and all units responding, hold the air. Stock 5, Battalion 6, and communications. I'm in Fort Armistead. Be advised the entire bridge, the entire key bridge is in the harbor.
Dispatch the 2 remaining squad companies. Prepare for backfill of stock units into the city.
Communications. Copy, command. What is it?
Several police officers on eastbound 695 that are stopping traffic so no more vehicles try to enter. We're going to try to get as close to the bridge as possible to get a better look, but I don't want to commit to the bridge if it's unstable.
Could you have command or SOC 5 just reconfirm the information that a majority or all of the key bridge has collapsed? I just need confirmation on that. Chief, that was the information that was conveyed by Engine Company 57.
SOC 5 to Car 1. I am at Fort Armistead Park. I do have a visual on it. I have confirmed that the entire key bridge has fallen into the harbor. I have also sent a picture to the 6th Battalion for him to start work from there.
Okay, message received. And your command post is going to be at Fort Armistead Park, correct? Battalion Chief 6 to communication. I'm arriving at Fort Armistead Park.
Units responding on I-695. Battalion Chief 6 on scene, assuming Key Bridge Command, 150.
SOC 5 to BC6. I'm going to call you face-to-face.
23-31, corner block East Baltimore Street on the assault.
We made it on the underpass. We're at the edge of the ground. We can see 1, 2, 3 remaining sections of the bridge. From there on out from land, the bridge has collapsed. We're here with Baltimore County Engine 6. I recommend all units of the apparatus make sure they keep a collapse zone from underneath the remaining parts of the bridge.
All right, so there you go. You know, other people are saying this is the crazy world that we live in. Other people are saying there's no way that those dispatchers were in on it because they were too calm. Well, dispatchers are trained to be calm in these kinds of situations. So I don't see that. Other people are saying it's a false flag. Man, I don't know. By the way, one person did say that because we talked about whether or not there was I think they call him a port captain on the ship. And apparently the port captains do have radios, and so they could have tried to radio someone that they were having problems, and they could have warned the people on the bridge because it is obvious. If you watch the video, and I've watched it several times now, if you watch the video, it is obvious that there's maintenance workers on that bridge because the lights are on. You know, when there's maintenance out on the roadway at night, you know, they have those big lights on. So you had lights on and you see the vehicles driving across the bridge as well. And again, just a horrible, horrible situation. We'll keep you updated on all the latest. It is 8:15 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time to check the roads from the WTN Traffic Center. All right, thank you very much, Jack. Appreciate it as far as your weather today. Going to have a high around 68, 69, 70 degrees, somewhere around there. And right now, wet roadways, be careful. And the temperature is, what's the temperature now, Mason?
57 degrees.
57 degrees. Welcome to Johnny's World. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let's see here. 3219 says they're shipping modules. That's what those things are called. Trains, trucks, and ships. Thank you very much. Other people say those containers are called intermodal containers, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Trucks pass us every day with those things.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You know, again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I lived in Charleston, South Carolina for quite some time. And, that's a major port there.
Yep.
And, those containers, I mean, it's amazing there at the port. Those things are stacked, 20 high,
Yeah.
And that's about the way they load them up on the ships. It's pretty impressive the way these cargo ships, just the tonnage that they can handle. And then, of course, when they hit something, as we've seen today, it certainly causes massive damage.
Yeah, and 4222, another person says the harbor pilot who some say was on the container ship does have a radio and a cell phone. So I see them, getting on the radio, contacting Port Authority and letting them know what's going on. But again, you've got minutes to act, and there's no way if you're on that bridge, if you look at the collapse, there's no way that you could have, run in either direction to get off the bridge and out of danger. You just couldn't do it if you were on foot. And I don't know about if you were driving, because there's still parts of the bridge on either side of the water that is still there, I believe. It's the middle part of the bridge that's out. So I'm sure that there's going to be people out there that are going to say, I was on that bridge 2 minutes before it collapsed. I was on that bridge 1 minute before it collapsed. Because when you watch the video, and I've watched it, as I said, many times, and you see the vehicles and you see the semis driving across the bridge, I'm asking myself, well, did that car or that truck make it all the way across, or are they now sitting at the bottom of the harbor or whatever? So it's just, again, very tragic. They're still looking for it, Jay. The numbers haven't changed since early this morning.
No, not yet. Again, they're still, as with these kinds of stories, conflicting reports. ABC News reporting that a federal memo that became unclassified says they are looking for 20 people. We've heard other reports of 7 people. Again, until they get all of this figured out, now that the sun's up, hopefully they'll be able to clarify and get to the bottom of things with more definitive information.
All right. Thank you very much, Jay. Appreciate it. It is 8:18 on Super Talk 99.7 at WTN 4612. They did indeed notify the PA. I believe they're probably talking about the Port Authority. Again, this is going to be a long story. It's going to be one of those stories that is going to be in the news for a long time to come as news continues to develop. 4295, while you're not talking about P. Diddy, I did talk about P. Diddy. I talked about him in the 7 o'clock hour.
Yeah, and I've been reading the news story as well.
There you go. I think people are just persnickety today, Jay. I think that's what it is. I think people are just a little persnickety, and that's fine. You know what I love? One of my favorite, and I had a number of people say this. We're talking about how Donald Trump was able to get that bond reduced to $175 million. Now he says he's going to pay cash. People on the super text line, and I believe that he should do this. People on the super text line say that Donald Trump should pay in pennies.
I knew you were going to say that.
Did you know I was going to say that?
Oh, yeah.
He should.
Yeah, back up a couple of dump trucks.
Can you? A couple of dump trucks. I mean, you would need.
Yeah, that's
you would
true.
need a cargo ship container thing like
probably
like
several
we saw in Baltimore. Yeah, because you know what? If they want cash, that's what Donald Trump can do. Pay in pennies. I don't even know how you would do that if you're Donald Trump. How would you even possibly do that? I don't know, but it's a great idea.
Where would you come up with that many? All at one time. Yeah. Who has that many pennies at their disposal?
You know what? That's a great question. You can't go to the bank and request $175 million in pennies. You can't. It's an impossibility.
I mean, to be fair, you could ask everybody at one of his rallies, because everybody has a jar or a cup or a big thing of coins at their house. So if you just ask them to bring them at the rally, they could all just produce a bunch of coins for him, and he could hand them a check as they leave, maybe.
Now, mine is in my utility room, where the washer and the dryer is.
Yeah.
And there's a glass jar with a whole bunch of pennies and dimes and, nickels. And there's actually some big bucks in there. There's some quarters in there as well. And so that's where mine is. Where's yours?
I was like, I keep mine in so I have a side room that I have my TV and like couch set up in there. So I have a big jar set up in there with a bunch of coins and stuff. And then I actually have one in my car as well, just for if I see coins out and about and like extra like trays at like Walmart or something like that. Nobody's collected them. I'll take those and throw them in that little cup there.
All right, Jay, you got a coin jar?
Oh, well, it's not a jar. It's one of those big 5-gallon water jug things.
There you go.
That goes on the water dispenser.
There you go.
Yeah, man, throw the excess stuff in there.
By the way, people saying no, Donald Trump cannot pay in pennies because that would look bad on the appeal. And it would look bad. He would lose sympathy of the American people. Because as I was saying, the American people are watching this and they're realizing that, this is lawfare. This is what, is obvious, at least to me, is that you have these attorneys general and you have this judge, and this is happening in, New York. This is happening in Manhattan with Alvin Bragg. This is happening in Georgia, of course, at the federal level as well with the special counsel into January 6th, Jack Smith. So it's swirling all around the former president. And I do believe that people are looking at this, and I've said this 1,000 times. I think that people are looking at all this now, and they do realize that there is certainly a contingent out there trying to get Donald Trump off of the campaign trail. 615-737-9986 is the Members Nutrition Super Text line, and I'm reading it right now, 615-737-9986. A lot of terrific feedback. If you want to watch the radio show, people do. I don't really still understand why. But if you want something really fun to watch, when did I get really mad, Mason? Was it in the 5 o'clock hour?
It's during the 5 o'clock hour. Around
You want to see me drop an F-bomb with the microphone off?
5:30.
Go check out 5:30 when we tried to go to the press conference, and for whatever technical reason we couldn't get the press conference up.
Yeah,
but that's
I didn't have it
fine.
up just yet, but we got it going.
It's okay.
Right
We
at the
got it
interview.
going. All right. Well, speaking of trying to get it going, it's 8:22 now, and Jay Harper, what's coming up in the news?
Yeah, Dan, as you can imagine, search and rescue efforts underway in the collapse of the Key Bridge there in Baltimore. We'll give you the latest on that. And there's, in light of tomorrow's 1-year anniversary for the Covenant school shooting, there is a bill to increase the penalties for threatening a school in Tennessee that's before the state legislature.
Good.
We'll have all that here at the bottom of the hour at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, that isn't funny. I mean, you get these stupid kids on TikTok, these stupid people on TikTok and some of these other social media sites, and, they'll call in a bomb threat. It's a challenge, and I don't know why people insist on still doing this. It is absolutely dumb. And I don't know what the penalty is now, but I know that it should be harsher because people keep doing this. And yes, they ought to throw the book at people that do that. Because frankly, number one, it's not funny. And number two, this takes up valuable resources, city and state resources as well. Anyway, 824 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I've been telling you about Stoltz Co. and their incredible pole barns for years. Now you can put them anywhere and they can function as anything. Now go to their website at stoltzco.com and take a look for yourself at their amazing construction. Now you can build one for your vehicles, you can build one for your horses if you need an equestrian building. You can build one as an event space, and listen, if you've got enough land, you can build a pole barn and you can live in that pole barn. We call them barn dominiums. Now Stoltz Co. is among the elite in pole barn construction here in Middle Tennessee. Find them online. Check them out at their Instagram and Facebook accounts as well. Call them for an estimate. Their website, by the way, STOLTZCO, stoltzco.com. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out at 615-622-5992 for Stoltz Co.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
$8:29 on WTN. So as patriots and those of us who simply do not depend on our government to take care of us, you need to be ready. You need to be self-sufficient. You need My Patriot Supply, which is emergency food, among many other things. Now, since 2008, My Patriot Supply has helped millions of American families prepare for a very uncertain future. And they can help you just like they're helping me. Now, right now, they've got a great deal going on for listeners to my show. You get $200 off each 3-month food kit when you go to preparewithmandis.com. Now, that's where you'll find a vast array of emergency food kit options, great food and drink varieties, so nobody is going to starve or get bored with the variety. So remember that great deal. Each 3-month food kit is going to be $200 off right now if you go to preparewithmandis.com. They ship fast, free, and more than anything else, you're protecting your family. They last for 25 years in special, sealed, ultra-durable packaging. That's preparewithmandis.com for $200 off every 3-month food kit. That's preparewithmandis.com.
Good morning. It's 8:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Cloudy, still a bit windy. We are at 60 degrees. A complete forecast and a traffic report are on the way. Search and rescue efforts continue after a large container ship collided with a support pillar of a major bridge in Baltimore. You can see the video on social media. It shows the overnight collapse. Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge, it buckled and fell into the Patapsco River, which is below a bridge support. Well, the ship hit the bridge support below the river. That was a 155,000-ton container ship that struck that thing. Baltimore City's fire chief, James Wallace, says there were workers on the span and cars crossing over it while all that went down. Dive teams, they're in the water. Sonar equipment has detected submerged vehicles. The search and rescue is on for survivors. As authorities say so far, there's no connection to terrorism. The bridge collapse, as you can well imagine, it's paralyzed the port of Baltimore. It's the primary way that giant container ships arrive through the Chesapeake Bay and unload everything from new cars to just about every consumer product you can think of all along the East Coast. Officials say ships cannot come in or out of the harbor at this time. This is going to take quite a while to unravel. A bill that would increase the penalty for making a threat of mass violence against a Tennessee school took an important step forward yesterday. The bill passed the state house with heavy bipartisan support with 90 ayes and 0 nays. Representative Bo Mitchell, a Democrat here in Nashville, introduced the legislation in the House. This bill would increase the penalty for threatening a school from a Class A misdemeanor to a Class E felony. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. They're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Thank you, Jay. 833 on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here. And one thing I absolutely love about Awaken 180 is that they actually teach you how to eat and eat right. Now, you know how much weight I gained on my cruise last month? Actually, none, because I ate the right way, the Awaken 180 way. Lots of fish and chicken and vegetables. I didn't want to lose all that progress that I've made with these folks at Awaken 180 because not only did they change your diet, but they change your attitude with food as well, your relationship with food. Now, that's what makes Awaken 180 among the best weight loss companies in America. Now, they helped me, Belle, and Pamela lose a tremendous amount of weight, and yes, they're going to help you as well. A big part of that success, by the way, is because the food is great and you get lifetime support for free once you finish the program. Check them out today online at awaken180weightloss.com. That is awaken180weightloss.com. You can also call them and schedule your at-home consultation today, 844-346-1800. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, 844-346-1800.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
8:38, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Not going to do the gang of three amigos here. It's going to be the gang of two amigos. Jennifer Sheets is joining us in studio. And I'm so glad I have you here today because you were scheduled for 8, but with all the breaking news and everything going on, we're having you do the segment here. But you actually know a lot about supply chains and this kind of a thing. So let me introduce you properly. Jennifer Sheets is here, Mastering the Workforce, Sundays at 11 right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN Sunday mornings. And so part of what you do is you study the workforce, and you are somebody who knows a lot about things like supply chains. And so all morning long, we've been discussing the situation in Baltimore with the container ship slamming into the bridge collapsed and so forth. And so now that we're away from the breaking news, if you will, now it's just a search and rescue operation. Now the concern is, what could this do to the supply chain? Because this Baltimore port, this is huge.
Right. And I think a lot of people, including myself, hadn't even seen the magnitude of how big it actually is. And it's going to affect things for a while, because even right now they're talking about the ships are being backed up like way out. And now they're trying to find different ports to go to. And so it's going to affect a lot of things. I think people have to start thinking in the sense of it's like something happens, you have to have a different plan, right? And I think supply chain has been one of those things that it's the lifeline. We realized how it wasn't ready during COVID, right? And that was where we seen the big push. And so supply chains did a rush after COVID to autonomize or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so then we've seen them doing every kind of technology. I actually was at the Supply Chain Summit in Chicago this past May, and I actually was speaking at it. And when I was speaking at it, that it went from the year before where people were in supply chain with products and different kinds of creative things to make processes better, to all technology companies exhibiting, which is really telling, because now they have like robots, that they have a person go out and get something off the from the ships to the trucks, everything else like that. And so I've seen is that change to that. But when it comes to something like this, what are they going to do? I mean, that's not going to help. And when you have to divert to another port, now you've put pressure on that area to be able to sort through the products. Now you've got to locate where that is. You got to have people come. I mean, the amount of people and manpower that it takes to right that ship literally is extensive. And I think that we have to have game plans in place to be able to, handle that type of thing. And who would have thought this? I mean, my heart just goes out to the families of everybody. I just can't even imagine. But at the same time, talking about supply chain, this is heavy on it. And it's going to actually expose a lot of things that either have fixed itself and righted itself since COVID, but it's also going to show where we still have a lot of work to do.
We had that big supply chain issue. Was that a year or two ago?
Oh, yes.
Where, I think I spoke to you about it at the time.
Yep.
Where you had on the West Coast, you had all of the supply chain problems that were going on there. And if I remember right, there were personnel issues. They didn't have enough workers, among other things. And so did we learn anything from that we could apply here?
One of the biggest things that has happened, which I don't know if it's good, bad, or indifferent, is the labor shortage we had. Because I talked about this before. I've talked about it in my book. I talked about the show. It had been something that had been brewing since 2003. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. It reared its ugly head during the pandemic. What's happened is that we had all of these individuals that we couldn't get to go back to work. Literally, that is what happened. They didn't want to go to work. They didn't want to go back to work. What happens then? I mean, companies end up finding another way to make things happen. We still need toilet paper and paper towel and medicine, and we still need to buy goods and products. So, what's going to happen with that? And so I think that what ends up being the result of that is the fact that right now you've got these companies trying to automate to take the human element out of it, because if they can't get a person to do it, they're going to find another way to do it, or they're going to move it elsewhere in the world where they don't have an issue with that. And that's what you're seeing right now. It's getting flipped up on its head, the automation that's happening right now.
Talking about what could happen next because of what's happened in the Baltimore port, and now you've got all these ships that are going to try to find other ports and so forth. Number one, is this going to possibly end up seeing a rise in the cost of things? Is that going to be an issue? And is it possible that this also might mean that we don't have the supplies that we need? Could this end up in delays there.
Sure. I think it's going to be more about not having the supplies that you need versus paying more, because what would have to happen, it'd have to be a long-term effect for them to justify a price hike at that particular point. I think they'll absorb some of that. But if it's anything that goes long-term, you talk 3 months, 6 months, anything like that has a long-term effect, then you'll see it hit that. But if they can get the right people in and get things moving, it's going to be more of an inconvenience of delay of products and goods that we desperately probably need.
Yeah, and I guess the big question is going to be, what can we learn from this particular disaster? Because that's what it is. It's a disaster.
Right.
What can we learn from this as, they continue the search and rescue operation? And I realize these are questions for down the road, but we can learn something from everything. We learn from our failures, and I've learned so much from my many failures than my few successes.
Oh, that's what I say. But they say success, like failure happens 50% in business. The trick is you don't repeat it. And so success comes from that because we learn from our mistakes. Exactly. I think that one of the biggest challenges that we're going to see coming into the future is how, learning from this particular situation is we've worked to rush to AI and automate so much, but it can't think in the way that it can problem solve. It still can't. And when something like this happens, you need contingency plans that are human based, and you need to be able to have something that will actually go into effect and work immediately. And I'm not saying that they don't, but clearly there was a mechanical or some type of issue problem from what we've been hearing today, that they were trying to let the bridge know that something was up. And I just feel like that I worry that there's going to be people that are going to rush to say this is why we need to automate. Maybe if there would have been a computer, making the ship go. Well, there were computers on the ship. I mean, obviously it didn't run like paddling. There weren't men underneath with a bicycle making that thing go.
Right.
I mean, so obviously technology isn't always the answer. We need a human brain, and the contingency plans need to be better.
Can I ask you a question? So one of the things we were originally going to talk about was the job market.
Yes.
Because Biden is always out there talking about how many jobs he created. The job market is great and so forth. And, people are fact checking him in real time, whether it's, he's created, I don't know how many, I think 17 million or something manufacturing jobs that he claims that he has created. And I'm air quoting with created. But he keeps getting fact checked. So let me ask you, as somebody who works in this industry, how is the job market right now?
I love that you asked me this question, Dan, because oh my gosh, I got steam coming out of my ears. I want everyone out there to know that anybody that's in my industry, that's in the staffing world, workplace strategy solutions, anything like that, when we see different industries, so it's one thing if you're one company in one industry, you only have a perspective of that industry. When for all of my industry-specific staffing people that are out there, they will appreciate this because we get a wide lens. We see everything going on in every different industry. And I'm telling you, what is happening right now is not what's being told. This is exactly the same thing that happened right during the pandemic. They were saying that there were no jobs. I remember having 555 requisitions that I could not fill because nobody wanted to go to work. And I'm not talking about $10 an hour jobs. There were $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year positions that people just didn't want to go to do, right? So, I mean, for me, I'm looking, I can give you two big examples. One, I had a friend from high school message me on Facebook that's in nuclear engineering. They all got on 5 states. 50 people got on a call and they let them all go. They laid them all off because they're automating. And then we just had another thing that just happened was the head of Chrysler. It's a leading company that's, I'm trying to remember the name of it right now, but they like oversee Chrysler.
Mm-hmm.
They just had a mandatory remote work day for 400 people and then they laid them all off. I've seen this left and right. So when you're talking about, it used to be 78 million about a year and a half ago, jobs would be automated in the next 5 to 7 years. Then when like Elon Musk and them all started talking, it became 500 and some odd. And now we're at 800 million. And I'm going to tell you why it's so upside down is because of the fact that people think you're creating jobs. Well, what you're creating is like a pinch, a salt compared to the millions of jobs you're letting go. And those jobs that you're creating, not only the salaries are 2 to 3 times higher than the jobs you just eliminated, but the skill set is a completely different thing. So you're trying to assume that everybody that got let go, that there's going to be enough jobs for them overtime, which there isn't.
Right.
And then you're also assuming that those people have the same skill set that is needed for these high-end jobs. And now you've replaced jobs with even higher salaries and responsibilities and legalities and all those types of things that come with it.
And this is AI, obviously. So it has AI'd. I was AI'd. Is that now a term?
We need to coin that. I think we should have a
there you
t-shirt.
go.
I love it, Dan. We
Somebody
need to
put
do
a
that.
hashtag on that.
That's right.
All right, last question, because I'm on TikTok, but somebody actually, I haven't paid attention to this, but apparently there's a new TikTok trend where people are filming themselves or taping themselves getting fired, and then they post it.
Oh, it's terrible. They're not only just that, they're doing reviews, like when you review an employee. They're doing when they got fired, laid off, disciplinary actions, anything. And then they're going on TikTok just bashing the companies for doing something like that. Let me tell you how I feel about that. This is a workforce now. This is a group of people now that want to work remote. They don't want to they want to text, they want to email, they don't want to pick up the phone anymore. And all of my old school people know how that is, right? They don't want to do any of that stuff, right? But then what do you expect when it comes time for a disciplinary action, a review, a layoff, or a fire? You want them to come to your front door, knock on the door, come sit on your couch face to face and tell you that we're done? Look, if you want one thing, you're going to get the other. That's how it is.
Well, and here's the other thing. If you're hiring someone and you see that in a past job, they posted their firing and they're bashing the company, is it still protocol if you lose your job not to bash your old company?
Absolutely. You never know what they say. The hand that you step on today could be the butt you have to kiss tomorrow. I mean, that's literally what it is, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, you need to be careful. You don't burn bridges. You just don't know who ends up where. And it's not smart. And the younger generation, and even some of the people that it's not just the younger generation. There are people that are very upset that are in the older generation and can be very vindictive about things. They just don't understand that it's long-lasting impressions, and they'll be really sorry if they keep continuing that trend.
Well, people can be vindictive.
Oh,
as a guy who's been managing for 35 years, I know all about that. Well, I guess then the question is, do you think they'll ever learn? It's mostly younger folks. Do you think they'll ever learn? Because once that stuff is out there, it's hard to pull that. You can't really pull that back.
Pull your
once you
social
go
media.
viral, there's no going back.
They're going to find themselves learning how to be an entrepreneur real quick, because there's going to be people that are just not going to take a gamble on them.
Yeah.
And plus they have to represent, when you go to hire somebody, represent your company and then the client base that you have or the customer base that you have. And they just can't afford that these days. So they better get really good at learning how to do file incorporation papers and stuff and figure out what they're going to do to make a living.
And then they can go out and try to hire people like them.
That'd be great. Wouldn't that be amazing?
That's so fun.
I'd love to see that.
All right, very good. It is 8:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jennifer, thank you for coming by.
Thank you so much, Dan, for having me on the show. Truly.
We were talking earlier about Donald Trump paying his $175 million fine, Jay and Mason, in pennies. One of our super texters from the Members Nutrition Super Text line has actually done the math. Can you guess how many pennies it would take to pay off $175 million if Donald Trump was able to, collect all those pennies? How many would it be?
Oh, my gosh. So you're looking at 100th of 175 million, right?
Yeah. You know what? I can tell Jay's brain is cramping.
Yeah.
I've got the answer right here. I will spare you unless, Mason, you've done the math.
I haven't done the math. I failed math in high school. There's no way.
Me too, actually. Me too. That's why I'm always horrified when math things come up.
Yeah. My guess is billions. It has to be.
17,500 million.
Holy cow.
Is how many pennies it would take for Donald Trump to pay $175 million in that bond that he's got to pay.
Imagine trying to count all that just to make sure you have it accurate, and you're short like 2 pennies after you're done. It's like, oh wait, no, hold on.
Start checking your pants and all that. All right, very good. 8:52, and Jay Harper, what's coming up in the news?
All right, Dan, the search and rescue operation after the collapse of Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge continues. We'll have the latest. A major hip-hop artist and producer, well, he's under the federal microscope, and we'll have this morning's money news. All that at 9 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
8:52 on Super Talk. Very quickly, Jennifer Sheets, Mastering the Workforce, Sundays at 11 here on WTN. I need to know real quickly. I know you're on tape for Easter, but the following week, you've got a pretty cool show coming up.
Yes, it's CEO Life. It's going to have founders of a group that have come up with a way to have collaboration with CEOs that are B2B all over the country. They actually have a global group, and we're going to be highlighting that and what it takes to be an entrepreneur and where we see everything going as far as the economy and election year.
And what's your website?
It's mastertheworkforce.com. And you can also catch us if you have a show idea or want to be on the show or featured on the show. You can email us at mastertheworkforce.mail.com.
All right. Thank you very much. 8:53 on Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here. Mark Spain Real Estate is helping homeowners sell their homes fast and for maximum profit. If you are ready to take advantage of this red-hot real estate market, my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate, they are the most trusted and experienced real estate team in America. With a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you can skip the hassle of a traditional home sale and receive the strongest cash offer in the industry. Now, with the guaranteed offer, there's no showings, no open houses, and no stress. It is just that simple. Their guaranteed offer allows you to sell your home in as little as 21 days and move on to your next chapter. They've got nearly 11,000 five-star reviews. You can trust Mark Spain Real Estate to sell your home stress-free and for the most money. Find out what your guaranteed offer would be. There's no obligation. Call them at 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD. Always tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. The website is markspain.com to get that guaranteed offer today. That's markspain.com and start packing. What an absolute mess. Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and look at my closets. Unorganized to say the least. Even my window dormer is a train wreck. Stuff is everywhere. Now, luckily, California Closets is coming to my rescue. My personal design consultant, Vince, stopped by, measured, and is now showing me how to become more space efficient and organized on his 3D CAD system. It is amazing. And soon, my space is going to be organized, and yes, even Bandit approves. California Closets, a local company that can customize the storage in any room of your house. California Closets, what can they do for you? Find them online at californiaclosets.com and reach out for your free in-home consultation.